2 months ago, the Harwich Mariners, along with 9 other teams in the CCBL, set out on a mission. Through 44 games, 8 rainouts, 4 doubleheaders, and a whole lot of baseball, Harwich fought tooth and nail to be exactly where they are right now, a spot in the CCBL playoffs, with one last chance to write their names in the record books. Today, that postseason journey begins here at Veterans Field, where for a second consecutive season, the Mariners will meet the Chatham Anglers in round 1 of the playoffs. Last year, it was the Anglers getting the better of Harwich in a sweep, but with 2 entirely new rosters and an even season series, today could be anyone's ball game. Hello, everybody. I'm Tyler Henry, joined as always by Colin Casey, and thank you for tuning into a very special playoff edition of Harwich Mariners baseball. Colin, should be an excellent series between these two teams that have played each other very closely in the regular season, and postseason action should bring nothing more than high stakes to this series.
It really should be an interesting series to look out for between these two teams. You know, the Mariners probably looking for some revenge after last year. Of course, with all the roster turnover, it's 2 entirely different teams. But this Mariners team has looked so hungry over the last 3 weeks. They've been playing their tails off to try to get into the playoffs. They finally did a couple of days ago, clinching their spot over the Brewster Whitecaps, and now all of a sudden, let's see if all that hard work pays off, as they will get an opportunity in the first round against the number 1 seed in the East. The Chatham Anglers were able to clinch that after a tie break with the Orleans Firebirds. So we will see if the Harwich Mariners can go out and clinch their first championship. First step is to get through here, but it will be their first championship since 2011.
So let's take a look at how these two teams got here. For the Chatham Anglers, they spent a majority of their season in the top, or atop the Eastern Division, as they finished their year with a 24-18-2 record. However, they have been really skidding recently, as it's been a tough last week of the season for this team. They went 1-6 over the course of the last week of the season, including a couple of tough losses to teams like Brewster, Harwich, and of course the Orleans Firebirds, whereas the Harwich Mariners spent a majority of their season in the basement of the East, trying to claw their way back and get ahead of Brewster. They eventually did, and would find themselves locking down the final playoff spot in a game head-to-head with the Brewster Whitecaps just a few days ago. Harwich finishes their season right at 500, 21-21-2. And while they may be considered the underdog by seed, Colin, it doesn't feel like that the way they've been playing. The offense has been firing on all cylinders. This is a pitching staff that many would still call the best in the league. And with everything getting together here at the right time, this is a very, very scary 4 seed if you're playing against this Harwich Mariners team.
Yeah, it should be really interesting to watch if they're able to keep up the offensive pace that they've been on over the last 2-3 weeks of the season. The big loss, of course, though, being Daniel Cabrera no longer in the lineup. But the great thing about the Mariners, they have so much depth in the outfield that any guy like Joey Weimer or Mike Ludwig, Dylan Noisy, anyone can really step in and take that last third outfield spot. Today it's going to be Weimer in right instead of Daniel Cabrera, and he'll get an opportunity leading things off this evening. But it's really exciting that the Mariners were able to somehow figure out their offensive issues and all of a sudden be one of the best hitting teams in the league over the last couple of weeks and have arguably the hottest hitter in the entire league, Chris Lanzilli, batting third today.
So let's talk about that Harwich Mariners lineup. As you mentioned, it'll be Joey Weimer leading things off. He's the right fielder today. Then Chris Gallen, the left fielder. Chris Lanzilli at first. Nico Cavadas in the cleanup spot at third base. Corey Acton at second. Dylan Noisy in center. Christian Fedko, the DH today. Pat Winkle behind the dish. And Hal Hughes is your shortstop. And of course, the guy that Harwich will be facing tonight will be Daniel Fetterman. An interesting choice for the Chatham Anglers to go with. The pitcher out of the University of Miami this year has 7 games, 5 starts. He boasts a 5.76 ERA, and through 25 innings, he struck out 24 hitters, allowed 7 walks, and more importantly, 16 earned runs. We'll get into the man who will be facing off against him today and Connor McCullough in just a minute, but we are just minutes away, or just moments away here from the opening pitch of the postseason. It's the Harwich Mariners visiting the Chatham Anglers here at Veterans Field. Joey Weimer stands in to lead things off. Fetterman getting its first start against Harwich, and the righty's first pitch is on its way and high for a first pitch ball to Joey Weimer. Let's set the defense for the Chatham Anglers. It will be Caden Smith getting the start behind home plate, Alex Terrell at first, Houston Morrill at second, Ben Ramirez at short, Jorge Arenas at third as Weimer skies this one high in the air. That'll stay on the infield. It'll be Houston Morrill coming in, and he will squeeze it for out number 1. So that's the first out of the game. The outfield looks like this. Hall starts in left, Jamal O'Gwyn in right, and Caden Polkovich in center. And Colin, here comes Chris Gallen, a guy who's had his fair share of success against the Anglers this year, batting 6 for 13.
And in his last 8 games, Chris Gallen picking up the power. He's got 2 home runs, so we'll see if he can continue that success.
First pitch is a high fastball. Chris Gallen swings through that one, and The count starts 0-1 here. Galland, a guy who was on an absolute tear to start the month of July. At one point, he had a 10-game stretch where he was hitting over 500 and had 12 RBIs. Here he will take one down the left field line, chasing it out as Jorge Arenas, and that one will drop into foul territory for the second strike of the at-bat.
Yeah, and of course, Galland in the last game between these two teams here at Veterans Field, he had that RBI triple in which he was thrown out going for an inside-the-park home run. So a lot of speed and, as of late, a lot of power for the Boston College outfielder.
See whether or not he can get things started for the Harwich Mariners, looking for their first base runner as we've got one away here in the first inning. Fetterman from the windup, the 0-2 pitch, and that's going to be a high breaking ball that will miss for a ball. Let's take a look at what Daniel Fetterman's got in his toolkit to work with. A fastball that'll come in between 89 to 91, a changeup that's going to drop from 74 to 76, and a slider. Here comes the next one, and Galland will foul a high fastball back to the screen to keep the count at 1-2. And that's another thing. We've seen this all season long, Colin. It's guys working long at bats and really wearing down opposing pitchers, and that's going to have a huge role to play here in the postseason.
Yeah, getting stamina out of your starting pitching for basically any of the 8 teams is going to be vital.
So Galland stands in, ready for the 1-2 pitch. Here it comes. There's the slider, and that one's going to be raked down the left field line. It's got a chance to get down, and it will. Galland's going to turn for second. He'll be in without a throw. No, it's going to be out of play just on the wrong side of the chalk line.
No, the ball's actually caught down the left field line. It was really tough to see with that sun glaring down, but Colin Hall was able to make it down right in front of the warning track to make the catch. That ball was stung a ton by Chris Galland, but unfortunately it's just allowed out number 2.
Of course, here at Veterans Field, you mentioned it, the sun right down the left field line, and even with the sunglasses on, it can be tough to see. So here comes Chris Lanzilli, who's been on just a monstrous tear. First pitch to him is the slider in there for strike 1. Take a look at what he's been able to do recently as Chris Lanzilli is now hitting throughout the month of July, 375 with 4 home runs and 17 RBIs. And he waves at this pitch high and away to fall behind 0-2.
And even more recently, the last 9 games, 16 of 29 with 4 home runs. All 4 of his home runs that counted all season. He had, of course, the one early in the year, Act 2 it, that was not counted among stats after a 12-0 victory for Harwich was washed out due to a rainstorm.
He'll foul this pitch off as he gets jammed inside. And with Nico Cavadas standing on deck, Harwich looking to get something started here with 2 away in their half of the first. Of course, this is not the only game going on. CCBL playoffs getting started all across the league. It'll be this game here at Veterans Field, the nightcap, a game going on right now between the YD Red Sox and the Orleans Firebirds. And then in the West, Falmouth taking on Bourne and Katuitt taking on Wareham. So the only 2 teams to miss the playoffs are Hyannis and Brewster. Lanzilli puts a charge into that one, sends it to deep left field. It's going to be chased back, but with plenty of room in front of the warning track, Colin Hall will squeeze it for out number 3. So it's a 1-2-3 inning for Harwich in their top half of the first. We go to the bottom half after this here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back to Veterans Field. Tyler Henry alongside Colin Casey as we go here to the bottom half of the first. And let's preview the Harwich Mariners starting pitcher. It will be Connor McCullough getting his second start here against the Chatham Anglers. And Colin, he has been absolutely unhittable at certain points in the season, and seemingly recently he has really turned on the Jets.
And especially against the Chatham A's, he's been untouchable. As Chatham this season, seen him twice, and they have not done a good job against him. 25 2/3 innings in total for Connor McCullough this season. Just under half of those against Chatham. He hasn't given up an earned run against this A's team, so it's going to be a really tall task for Chatham, a team offensively that has really struggled over the last couple of weeks.
Connor McCullough this year has pitched 12 1/3 against Chatham. He's given up just 5 hits and 1 run. It was not earned, so he has not given up a single earned run against the Anglers this year. And he has 14 strikeouts through only 2 walks. His best performance came in the 2-0 win for the Harwich Mariners, in which he was able to pitch 8 scoreless innings en route to a 2-0 Harwich victory. Let's take a look at the lineup he'll be facing off against. It'll be Houston Morrill to lead things off, the second baseman for the Chatham Anglers. Then the DH, Aaron Polensky. a new arrival to this Chatham squad. Caden Polkovich playing in center, Ben Ramirez at short, Jamal O'Gwyn, your right fielder, Alex Terrell at first, Jorge Arenas at third, Brady Smith behind the plate, and Colin Hall batting ninth and playing left. Houston Morrill, the other guy who could be described as one of the hottest guys in the Cape Cod Baseball League, will come to the plate. The right-hander trying to lead things off here for the Chatham A's, and he has been on an absolute tear. 14 for 37 with 3 RBIs over the course of his last 10 games, and the first pitch he sees is a fastball up and in that he will check his swing on for ball. Actually, he's going to take it for strike one.
Yeah, and Morrill's been just one of 2 guys in this Chatham lineup that has played each of the last 10 games, the other being Jorge Arenas, so he's gotten a lot of reps over the last 10.
McCullough gets him to foul a high and tight fastball off, and he falls behind in the count 0-2. Connor McCullough has done such a good job of just getting ahead of opposing hitters throughout the course of the season. You could say his best pitch has been strike one, and that's really kind of utilized, or really helped him utilize his strikeout pitches. As the righty kicks and deals the 0-2, high fastball will miss for ball one. Let's take a look at the Harwich defense today. It'll be Pat Winkle getting the start behind the dish, Chris Lanzilli at first, Corey Acton at second, Hal Hughes at short, Nico Cavadas at third. As the 1-2 is a breaking ball that just misses. Count goes 2-2. The outfield is Chris Galland in left, Dylan Noisy in center, and Joey Weimer gets the start in right field today.
A lot of speed in that Harwich outfield.
There's going to be a lot of range, that's for sure, as swinging and missing at a breaking ball low for strike 3 is Houston Morrill, and he goes down for the first out of the inning.
Yeah, nice breaking ball in the mid-70s from Connor McCullough as he gets Morrill to chase, a guy who's been seeing the ball really well. That time he was just completely fooled.
Let's remind you of Connor McCullough's toolkit as Aaron Polinsky comes to the plate. Fastball, curveball, changeup. The velo on the fastball comes anywhere between 89 to 93 as the first pitch is going to miss inside for a ball. And Aaron Polinsky, a late arrival to this Chatham team. He's got just 5 at-bats coming into this game, but hitting in the 2-hole today. Clearly a lot of promise shown for Tom Holliday to put him there as he takes this pitch in the dirt for ball 2.
And you can make the case that the advantage here goes to Aaron Polinsky because Chatham, or Harwich I should say, really doesn't know a whole lot about the righty out of Nebraska.
He will foul this pitch off behind the screen to make the count 2-1. Let's get you up to date on what he did at Nebraska in 2019. Throughout an entire season, including 56 games played, he had a batting average of .320, an on-base percentage of .420, 7 home runs to go along with 35 RBIs and 46 strikeouts to 30 walks. The 2-1's going to be taken at the shortstop. Hal Hughes picks it up, fires across in time for out number 2.
And that right there, a huge reason why Hal Hughes is starting shortstop in this game because he hasn't really been doing that well against Harwich or against Chatham at the plate. He's 0 for 15 with a couple of RBIs on the season, but we know how great defensively he has been all year long at that shortstop position. He made it look easy for out number 2.
So here comes Caden Polkovich, the 3-hole hitter today for the Chatham Anglers. Polkovich has been very good this year, but again, he's had his fair share of struggles against Harwich and takes the first pitch here for strike 1. Caden Polkovich this year, just 2 for 19 against the Mariners without a single RBI, but he is going to be hit here. As Connor McCullough brought a pitch inside, and that gets a piece of Polkovich, so the first runner on base for Chatham in the game comes via a hit by pitch.
Yet I'm sure Chatham will gladly take that because base runners have been very hard to come by this season against Connor McCullough, so 2-out base runner, and now all of a sudden the cleanup man up in Ben Ramirez.
Ben Ramirez stands in from the right side, another left-handed hitter, as is Caden Polkovich. Ramirez is the shortstop today for the Chatham A's, and he'll take this one up the middle, but Hughes will collect it and step on the bag for out number 3. So Caden Polkovich reaches on a hit by pitch, but nobody comes across to score. We're still knotted up at 0 apiece here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back to Veterans Field. Tyler Henry, Colin Casey as we go to the second inning, still knotted up 0-0. Colin, let's take a look around the league at the other playoff games going on right now. Only one score to update you on as the Falmouth Commodores are out to a 3-0 lead on the Bourne Braves. Wareham and Katuitt and YD and Orleans just getting started here at about 7 o'clock, same as this game. But out of the West, I mean, that was a Bourne team that people thought might have been able to cause a little bit of noise. I mean, what's your takeaway from what they've been able to accomplish here at the back end of the season?
Yeah, they've certainly looked really good over the last 10 games, despite not really playing for anything because they had secured the 4 seed very early on with Hyannis falling way out of playoff contention. But they have their hands full against a very good Falmouth Commodores team that is a batting champion in Zach DeLoach at 353 this regular season, and a ton of speed with the second and third place guys in stolen bases this year with Hayden Cantrell with 19 and Blake Dunn with 14. So a very versatile team in Falmouth, and they should be a team to watch coming out of the West.
So here come the Harwich Mariners in their half of the second inning. Still 0-0 here at Veterans Field. And it'll be Nico Cavadas coming to the plate here for the first time today. The Harwich cleanup hitter had the hottest start to the month of July. He's since cooled down a little bit. First pitch he sees is an off speed. He will swing through that one for strike one. Cavadas is only 2 for 13 against the Chatham Anglers, but one of those hits was a 2-run bomb that gave them a 2-0 win over Chatham earlier this year. So he's had the clutch hits, but the quantity hasn't quite followed, as he will take a breaking ball down low, and the count is 1-1.
Cavadas, of course, the co-leader in home runs during the regular season with 9 alongside Brewster's TJ Collette.
See whether or not he can start something for the Mariners here as he hits one right at the first baseman. It's pretty easy for Alex to roll, and he will still flip onto the pitcher in time for out number 1.
Yeah, we know Cavadas hasn't had a ton of success over the last few games, just hitting 6 of 29, but he does have a home run in that span, so we'll see if that power is put on display in this playoff series.
Here comes a guy who's been picking up the slack, though. It's Corey Acton, and I'll tell you what, he got activated in the game earlier this year with the Chatham Anglers. At that point, he was hitting a dismal, I believe it was at that point, .098. He has since bounced back in spectacular fashion, as in that game against the Chatham Anglers, he was able to have a 2 RBI triple and a 3-run home run. He takes the first pitch up for a ball. Since then, he has gone on an absolute tear, as Corey Acton is 10 for his last 20 with 2 home runs and 8 RBIs. This is not a guy you want to be pitching to right now if you're Daniel Fetterman, but that's what he'll have to do. And with a 1-0 count, the righty delivers the next pitch. High fastball that'll miss for ball 2.
Yeah, his second home run of the season was a 3-run shot over that right field fence in Veterans Field. It was a complete no-doubter and just a cherry on top of 11-0 victory over the Anglers for the Mariners.
A picturesque evening for baseball here at Veterans Field. The sun beginning to set over the tree line in left field. Everybody filling the hill out behind the right field fence with the fire department in the background. Corey Acton takes a big old healthy cut at that pitch, and he will swing through it for strike 1. So the count goes 2-1. Daniel Fetterman looking to get around the ever-dangerous Corey Acton, the one they call Gata, out of the University of Florida. Acton stands in. Here comes the 2-1. And that'll miss high, so looks like Fetterman wants to keep things up and try to get Acton, who's been showing good power numbers lately, to chase after the potential home run pitch.
Yeah, but of course, the danger in pitching up in the zone is if you don't get one high enough, Acton can definitely turn one around and give Harwich an early lead.
3-1, and that is going to be called strike 2, so Corey Acton will turn around as he was almost headed down to first base, and with a full count, he will be trying to find a way to get something started here for the M's with 1 away in the inning. Fetterman sets, kicks, and fires, and Acton will foul this one off back down the fence, so count stays full here on Corey Acton.
Funny thing about Acton is he's actually hitting .357 against left-handed pitching, but only .222 against righties.
One of the weirder left-right splits on the team, as you mentioned, Colin. One of the weird outliers in terms of lefty-righty hitting. Here comes the payoff, and this time it'll be hit once again right at the first baseman. Terrell picks it up and steps on the bag himself this time for out number 2.
Yeah, pretty hard hit ball off the bat from Acton, but he did have to go down and get that pitch. It was a fastball low in the zone, maybe just below the knees, and good location from Fetterman. So far, a couple of hard hit balls for Harwich, but they haven't quite been able to find the gap.
So here comes Dylan Noisy, a guy who had a similar story to Corey Acton, as he was hitting well under 150, but after a 2-home run performance against YD, he is hitting 12 for his last 33, 7 runs scored, 9 RBIs, and 2 bombs. He takes a big swing at a first pitch fastball up in the zone for strike 1.
And the 2 home runs coming against YD for Dylan Noisy in what was easily his best game of the season.
Noisy looking to continue his recent success here, as more often than not when he's found his way on base, he's come around to score. The 0-1 pitch, fastball misses high and away. Count goes 1-1.
Big part of him being able to come around to score is the speed that he possesses, 6 steals on the season.
And that's allowed him to pick up a couple of infield singles as well, seemingly something he's done since arriving here at Harwich. Fetterman's 1-1 pitch, breaking ball that'll miss high, and the count stays 2-1 here on Dylan Noisy. Of course, the interesting thing you mentioned, of course, Daniel Cabrera no longer with the team. Neither is Mike Rothenberg, and they've lost position players all year long. Guys like Tyler Keenan, as the season has continued. The 2-1 pitch fouled away here by Noisy, but what it's done, despite the depth, is really shorten up the Harwich bench, as the only 4 position players available are Mike Ludwig, Sean Harrington, Riley Terada, and Max Marshak.
2 of those guys relatively new in Terada and Harrington.
Yep, Terada picked up a couple of weeks ago, and of course Sean Harrington activated within the last week, as he went 1 for 2 and reached base 3 times in his debut for Harwich against Brewster. Here comes the 2-2 to Noisy. That'll miss outside, and the count goes full here. So, you know, the interesting thing when you look at those guys, Mike Ludwig, of course, a very, very good hitter this season, and Max Marshak, a guy that you think will probably be used exclusively, or more or less exclusively, as a pinch runner this year with all the speed that he brings to the table. Here's the payoff to Noisy. He will chop this one up the middle. It's got a chance to get through, and it will. The first hit of the day belongs to Dylan Noisy, and the Mariners are in business here with 2 away in the second.
And that's the big thing that you just mentioned right there, in business with 2 away. We know what Harwich has been able to accomplish this season with 2 outs in the inning, and see if they can get done here in the playoffs. And what's been a pretty powerful bottom of the order coming up, Christian Fedko, the DH, who has hit really well against lefties. Righties has been a different story, but he's got a chance to knock that narrative in the playoffs.
Yep, Fedko this year hitting .368 against left-handed pitching, just .217 against righties, and he had one of the hottest starts to the Harwich season, as at one point he was hitting .390 on the year. First pitch to him is going to miss high for ball 1. Of course, he cooled down after that, but still one of the more capable hitters in this lineup, and the fact that they can utilize him down in the 7-hole just shows how deep this lineup has become. The right-handed Fedko stands in. Here comes the 1-0 pitch, and this one's a slider in there for strike 1.
How about the start for the Wareham Gatemen against the Katuitt Kettleers? 6-0. They lead that game in just the 2nd inning.
So an early lead for the Gatemen, trying to bounce a Katuitt team, as a throw over to first to keep Noisy close is not in time. And again, the Western Conference, or the Western Division playoffs, not quite as interesting as the East. The East, you feel like any one of these 4 teams could potentially come out.
I think it's going to be either Falmouth or Wareham, if I had to guess, coming out of the West.
Another quick throw over to Noisy. That one's keeping him close, but the count stays 1-1, and Noisy stays on first base.
Both intriguing teams, though. I think a series between those 2 teams could easily go 3 games. Should be a very fun semifinals to watch, if it happens, of course.
And a very fun final will be in store, regardless of who makes it out of the East and West. Some really good teams in the Cape League this year. Noisy takes off, breaking ball in the dirt, throw down to second, not in time. So Harwich has got a runner in scoring position here, with a 2-1 count on Christian Fedko and 2 away in the second.
Yeah, one of the big issues with Dylan Noisy on the base pass is he has been caught 4 times in the regular season stealing. That time he was able to get a solid jump, throw not nearly in time from Brady Smith, and huge runner in scoring position with Fedko at the dish.
So Fedko will dig back in, righty on righty here, facing off against Daniel Fetterman. Fetterman, of course, making his first start, his first appearance against the Harwich Mariners on the hill. He'll check Noisy back to second. From the stretch, brings the pitch home. Fedko fouls this one back behind the grassy hill here at Veterans Field. And if you haven't seen Veterans Field before, I'd highly recommend checking out the pictures, as it's really a beautiful park here to play baseball. Probably one of my favorites here in the entire CCBL. And just the way that people are situated here, it really feels like it's full, even if it is not. But certainly a good crowd on hand here at Veterans today, as playoff baseball is among us. Fetterman once again comes set, once again checks Noisy. Checks him twice, brings the pitch home. Noisy takes off for third, and it's going to be a check swing strike 3 for Christian Fedko that will end the inning. So Harwich able to get a runner up to second, but can't make anything of it. We go to the home half of the second. It'll be O'Gwynn, Terrell, and Arenas due up for Chatham when we come back on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Back to baseball here at Veterans Field. Tyler Henry, Colin Casey, still 0-0 as we go to the home half of the second inning, and it'll be a guy who hasn't seen a lot of action over the last couple of weeks. They've really been resting him up. Jamal O'Gwyn coming to the plate here. I believe he's had less than 8 at-bats over the course of the last 10 days here for Chatham. First pitch is on its way to him, and it'll be a fastball in there at the letters for strike one.
Yeah, and I can see why they really want to protect O'Gwyn. He's been a guy who has just torn the cover off the ball, especially against left-handed pitching this season in the middle of this Chatham lineup.
Next pitch to O'Gwyn, misses low. Count goes 1-1 here. Jamal O'Gwyn has also had his fair share of success against the Harwich Mariners this year with a 4-for-13 clip, 2 runs scored, and a double. Here he will chop one foul down the third baseline. Cavadas will watch this go by. And let's get into this infield really quickly, Colin, because with Corey Acton starting to line it up and Chris Lanzilli doing the same, they can move Cavadas over to third more often than not. You keep Hal Hughes where he's at second base, or shortstop, and that's one of the best defensive and offensive infields probably in the entire CCBL.
Yeah, you look at Harwich defensively this season, they're tied for first with a .976 fielding percentage, but yeah, I mean, the defense gets even better and better when you got guys like Hughes and Chris Galland in it.
1-2 will be fouled away. Harwich has the fewest errors in the entire league with only 35 committed this year, and it really seems like there have been a lot of teams with ridiculously high error numbers this season.
Yeah, I know one of them is, of course, being Hyannis early in the season, but they actually rallied to finish 7th defensively on the year.
1-2 is going to be weakly lifted into right field. Joey Weimer doesn't even have to move. He'll take about a half step in and make the catch for out number 1.
I believe it was Brewster that was far and away the worst defensive team in the entire CCBL. Just a team that really couldn't get it done in the field, and quite frankly, you could make the case that that's what cost them a playoff spot this season.
Certainly could. So here comes Alex Terrell. The one big thing when you look at this Chatham team over the course of the last 10 games, their lineup has become extremely top-heavy as they have 5 different guys hitting over 300 as the first pitch misses for ball 1, and they also have 7 different guys hitting under $140. Get into who those are in just a moment as the 0-1 pitch will miss low to Terrell. You've got Ben Ramirez, Houston Morrill, Caden Polkovich, and Charlie Welch hitting above 300. Kendrick Calliloo, Davis Wallace, Jamal O'Gwyn, Alex Terrell, Colin Hall, and Davis all hitting under $140 as this pitch is fouled away.
I think one of the most interesting omissions in the entire lineup is no Paxton Wallace, a guy we've seen a lot this season when the Harwich Mariners play the Chatham Anglers, but for Game 1, he is nowhere to be found.
It's Paxton Wallace, who's also 4-for-14 against Harwich this year with 4 home runs, or 4 RBIs. So as the 1-2 pitch is taken for strike 2, it's very interesting to see his bat missing here in this lineup, but this is what Tom Holliday wanted to go with against Connor McCullough. So far, McCullough has looked pretty good as the 2-2 pitch is on its way. That one's going to be lined once again to Weimer. He will take a few steps back and catch that one just shy of the warning track for out number 2.
Yeah, Terrell last time he was able to pull one down the right field line against the Harwich Mariners, ended up tying the ball game here at Veterans Field, but this time Weimer played perfectly, just had to take a good 4 or 5 steps back and made a simple catch for out number 2.
And speaking of guys who have had big games against Harwich, here comes Jorge Arenas, who had the solo shot to put the to put the Chatham Anglers ahead of Harwich here at Veterans Field a couple of weeks ago, but a lot has happened since then. The first pitch will miss inside to him for ball 1.
Yep, Arenas took one right off the scoreboard off of Blake Espinal in what was the go-ahead run and gave Chatham a victory.
Next pitch is going to be in there for strike 1. The count evens here at 1-1. Harwich looking for another good game out of their, you could call him an ace as this pitch is fouled away, although there are 3 guys on this Harwich roster that you could potentially call the ace of this team. You've got Jacob Polish, Connor McCullough, and you can throw Connor Seckler into the mix as well. And with 3-game series, that's going to make things very interesting for opposing hitting. As McCullough's 1-2 is on the way, swing and a miss, strike 3, and that will end the inning. The second strikeout of the outing here for Connor McCullough, and once again, the Chatham Anglers go quietly. We go to the third, still knotted up at 0-0 here on the Harwich Mariners Radio Network. Welcome back to Veterans Field. Tyler Henry, Colin Casey bringing you coverage of playoff baseball here on the Harwich Mariners radio network. And a team that wasn't 100% guaranteed to work for or to make it into a playoff spot, but Harwich really had to fight those last couple of weeks, and that really seems to have strengthened their resolve as they built up a really, really good product, both pitching-wise and offensively, to take into the postseason.
And I think the big thing involved in all of that is not just the individual talents from these guys, especially pitching-wise, but there's just great chemistry with this entire team. I mean, you watch these guys play, and it's almost like they've been friends for years when you see them interact in the dugout. This is one of the most close-knit teams in the entire CCBL, and although it wasn't a lot of fun at the beginning of the season when they weren't winning games, the fun has really kind of picked up over the month of July, and they go into the playoffs as one of the hottest teams in the entire league.
This team is loose, this team is fun, and this team is having fun, more importantly, as that's been a big thing. We've seen a couple of teams that have looked almost stressed to be out here, but Harwich has been enjoying every minute of it. Pat Winkle will lead things off, the catcher out of UConn. Stands in from the right side, and he is one of many guys that really turned things around throughout the month of June. He was hitting .091. He's gotten that up to about 200 here through the back half of the season, and he will sky this one into left field. Coming in is Colin Hall, and he will once again make the catch to record the first out of the inning.
And so far, it's been another one of those pitchers' duels between these two teams. We've seen them a couple of times, especially earlier in the season. So all it might take in this one is just one big hit to put a team up 1-0 in the series.
So here comes the defensive stopper, Hal Hughes. Hughes has also found his way with the battle, though, against the Chatham Anglers. It's been harder to come by. He's an 0 for 15 against the Anglers this year. But, again, his defensive ability is something that cannot be overlooked. And with more depth in the lineup that Harwich knows what to do with, it's okay to have a guy in the 9-hole who's struggled. He will square around the bunt, and the first pitch as he pulls back will be in there for a called strike one.
And despite the 0 for 15 clip for Hughes, he does have a couple of RBIs, so he hasn't been completely useless, so to speak, at the plate. He has been able to come up big and drive home a couple of huge runs.
0-1 to Hughes, a fastball will miss outside. Count is even at 1-1. That's the other thing we've seen. Even on days where he hasn't played well, his patience has been on full display as he's gotten very deep into counts. One that comes to mind is the 12-pitch at bat he had that I believe was against Chatham. So his next pitch misses in the dirt for ball two.
Yeah, we've talked about it all season long, his ability to see a lot of pitches in every plate appearance he has, and already a 2-1 count on this one. It looks like he's going to be working another deep count against a guy in Daniel Fetterman. The Mariners need to get him out of the game as quick as possible to try to get to a Chatham Anglers bullpen that has struggled over the last couple of games against the Mariners.
Daniel Fetterman from Archbishop McCarthy High School in Pembroke Pines, Florida, now going to the University of Miami, as we mentioned earlier. He was strictly used as a reliever throughout the 2019 campaign, but has been transitioned to a starting role here with Chatham as the next pitch comes in and narrowly misses hitting Hal Hughes. The count goes 3-1.
Nice favorable count for Hughes if he's trying to at least get on base via walk or maybe pick up that first hit against the A's this season.
So Hughes digs in with a 3-1 count. Fetterman looking to put him away here, but he'll have to fight back first. The pitch. And that's a fastball that is going to be called a strike on the outer half. Very close as Hughes was about half a step towards first base. He'll step back into the box here with a full count. Fetterman has battled his way back throughout this at bat. He's got a full count, and here comes the payoff pitch. That's going to be chopped weakly, coming in, charging from third base, barehanding and throwing to first, but wild. It's a wild throw from Jorge Arenas. Hughes will step on the brakes as that one bounces back into play, but what an effort by Jorge Arenas trying to get the play thrown in. Either way, it's going to result in Hal Hughes' first hit against the Chatham A's today, and his first of the season, a runner on base with one away in the top of the order coming up.
Yeah, it was a great effort from a very good defensive third baseman in Jorge Arenas. He was able to get it cleanly somehow, but the throw well off. I think Hal Hughes was there in time regardless. So Hal Hughes picking up a big one-out single, and see if the Mariners can take advantage of the top of the order coming up.
So here's Joey Weimer. Weimer so far today is 0 for 1. Runner on first with one away. And the big right-hander for Harwich stands in the pitch. Breaking ball in there for a called strike. Weimer's going to have to be cautious here as he's been one of the slower hitters for Harwich over the course of the last week or so, but keep in mind he was also fighting off that nasty bug bite that kept him out of the lineup for a couple of days. The 0-1 pitch, that'll miss outside. And Colin, I really like Harwich putting him at the top of the order, giving him a chance to kind of rebuild some of his mojo, if you will, going forward.
And it makes sense. He sees right-handed pitching very well, 304 in the season with 13 runs batted in. The only guy with a higher average against righties is a man standing on deck in Chris Galland at 344.
See whether or not they can get to Galland here as Weimer takes a big swing and fouls this one off. Back into the crowd. Almost a good catch by a fan, but you got to secure it with two hands. So with a 1-2 count, Weimer will dig back in. The man with the most aggressive swing in the entire Cape Cod Baseball League. He's got that huge leg kick. If you've watched any of our video broadcasts, you know what I'm talking about. And then he brings it down and looks like he's actively trying to hurt the ball every time he swings. But he's fallen behind Fetterman here with a 1-2 count. Fetterman comes to the belt, brings the pitch home. That'll miss outside, trying to get him there with the slider. Can't get him to chase, and the count is even here at 2-2.
Uses a couple of steals on the season. He hasn't really been too aggressive on the base paths. We'll see if that changes here in the postseason.
Seems like his speed has been used more when guys have hit the ball and put it in play as opposed to stealing bags this year. So Hughes with a pretty good lead over there at first base. Here comes the 2-2 to Weimer, and that one will be fouled back. We'll do it again.
It's an RBI fielder's choice for Matt Mervis that puts Katuitt on the board. They still trail 6-1 to Wareham.
Try to keep you up to date on all the scores going on around the CCBL playoffs, as, again, the only two teams to not make it, Brewster and Hyannis, both eliminated from playoff contention sometime earlier this week. With a 2-2 count, Weimer stands in. Hal Hughes at first, one away here in the third inning. Harwich still knotted up 0-0 with Chatham as Joey Weimer calls time. Fetterman taking a lot of time to approach Joey Weimer here, and you get overly cautious. That's where guys make mistake pitches to him.
Yeah, we saw the one home run of the season coming way back in the month of June against Falmouth. Let's see if he's got some power in the playoffs.
2-2, foul away. Once again, Weimer getting under that one, but doing a good job of fighting it off and doing his part to stay alive here.
And Hal Hughes saw a lot of pitches in his at-bat, and we're seeing the same thing from Joey Weimer. 2-2 count, couple of foul balls, and already 45 pitches just in the third inning for Daniel Fetterman.
So it'll be Weimer facing Fetterman here again for the seventh pitch of the at-bat. A 2-2 count. Fetterman trying to put him away as he has been for about 4 pitches now. The 2-2. This is outside. Try to get him there with the slider. And the count has been worked full here by Joey Weimer. More patience than we've typically seen Weimer show this year, but maybe turning over a new leaf here in the postseason. Big number 16 standing in from the left side to face off against Daniel Fetterman with a full count. The pitch. Big swing and a miss. Joey Weimer down on strikes, and that is 2 away in the inning with Chris Galland coming to the plate.
Yeah, Fetterman going right after him with a fastball in the high 80s. Just kind of challenged him middle and down, but Weimer couldn't quite make contact. I mean, he might have actually gotten a piece of it as it went right back to the catcher's mitt, but a huge out number 2 for Chatham as they look to keep this game scoreless.
So it'll be up to Chris Galland to try to find a way to bring the first Harwich run across. A quick throw back to the runner on first, Hal Hughes, to keep him close. Again, Chris Galland's had his fair share of success against the Chatham A's this year. And while he has slowed down over the past week or so, he's still been very good as he swings at the first pitch, a fastball low for strike 1.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a rough patch per se in terms of batting average for Galland, but he's made up for it with power with a couple of home runs in his last 8 games to go along with 5 RBIs.
Hal Hughes on first. The 0-1 to Chris Galland has swung through and missed. Going with the slider that time was Fetterman, and he's one strike away from finding his way out of this inning. Postseason coverage here in the CCBL playoffs, round 1, day 1. 4 games, 8 teams. Here it's a 0-0 game as tossing over to keep Hal Hughes close once again is Daniel Fetterman.
Not a bad idea. We've seen a lot of Chatham pitchers pick off Harwich Mariners base runners here at Veterans Field all season long.
Started in that disastrous 5-0 loss for the Harwich Mariners and has kind of since continued. The 0-2 to Galland. This one will be fouled away, so Galland doing a good job of fighting off yet another pitch. Let's look at the season series this year. As the Chatham Anglers, of course, got that first win 5-0, but when you look at it, 2 guys for the Mariners who gave up 4 of those 5 runs are no longer with the team, and Connor Yoder and Devin Dunn. Then you go to game 2, where Harwich had a 2-0 lead, 3 one-run innings, gave Chatham a 3-2 lead and eventually a victory. Then there was the 2-0 win for Harwich, thanks to the courtesy of Nico Cavadis' 2-run bomb, as the 0-2 to Galland is going to be chopped foul. And then the last three meetings, a 6-4 game here at Veterans Field that saw Chatham come out the victor in back-to-back wins for Harwich, including a 5-1 win and an 11-0 victory where Harwich just looked absolutely dominant. Nick Stewart and Will Heflin combined for a complete game shutout, and of course, everybody on the offensive side came alive to contribute to a double-digit victory.
Yeah, it was Heflin's first and only start of the season, and doesn't matter whether he's coming out of the pen or starting, he has just looked so dominant all season long for the Mariners, posting a .75 ERA.
Fetterman's 0-2 to Galland will miss up in this upstairs. Count is 1-2 here. Of course, the season series ultimately means nothing here. Neither does the record, as everything is completely erased. The only advantage that Chatham has is home field, as Game 1 will be played here. Game 2 will be tomorrow at 5:30 at White House Field, and Game 3, if it should come down to it, will be back here at Veterans. The 1-2. Popped high in the air. This one will stay in the field of play. It's Brady Smith trying to locate it, and he will glove it from his spot behind the catcher's, or behind home plate, for out number 3. So once again, Harwich gets a runner on, can't bring him across. We go to the third inning. Chatham nothing, Harwich nothing on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back to Veterans Field. Tyler Henry, Colin Casey, and a 0-0 score as we go to the home half of the third inning. Colin, the one other thing that I wanted to bring up are the field conditions here at Veterans Field, because you and I have both noticed that you look at our scorebooks, our stat sheets, anything else made of paper, it goes completely limp by about the third inning because of how humid it is out here. And even on a cool night like this, there's a lot of moisture in the air with the coast just off the side of Chatham. So that really kind of plays into how many balls do or do not get hit out of Veterans Field, which has helped the Chatham pitching staff post a pretty good ERA this year.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Petco Park in San Diego, where the air right by the ocean kind of affects how well the ball travels. And so far today, and going back to the 11-0 game, even though Acton was able to hit one over the fence, there was a ton of balls lost out in center field that couldn't quite get out of the ballpark.
So we'll see what Chatham's got in store here as Brady Smith comes to the plate to lead things off in the third. First pitch is a fastball zipped in there at 89 miles an hour, and it's in for strike one on the Chatham catcher.
Yeah, Smith, a teammate of Corey Acton at the University of Florida. He's been a solid backup catcher for most of the season.
As the 0-1 pitch is another fastball, this one also getting the zone, same spot. So McCullough is way out ahead of the Florida Gator in Brady Smith.
He's kind of been platooning with Keaton Rice, the left-handed catcher, so it's kind of been a split between those two all season long.
The 0-2 pitch, misses low and away. Try to get him to chase a ball in the same spot. And part of the reason why Keaton Rice may not be in the lineup against the Harwich Mariners, he is 0 throughout his career against the M's. As McCullough brings home another pitch, that's going to catch the part of the plate low and in, and that is his third strikeout of the day as Brady Smith goes down looking.
Yep, just a straight fastball at 90 right on the low and inside corner, and Brady Smith kind of was caught off guard. Might have been expecting an off-speed pitch because he didn't even make an attempt to swing at that one.
Well, I'm sure he was, because McCullough threw him 4 straight fastballs there, didn't go with anything off-speed throughout that entire at-bat, and he's not a guy that has an overpowering fastball, again, between 89 to 91, but you get it 4 times in a row and you're not expecting it, it can be something that becomes a problem. As his first pitch to Colin Hall will be high and outside, a fastball that misses for ball 1. Colin Hall has also had his fair share of struggles against the Harwich Mariners this year. As the next pitch he sees will miss low and away, ball 2, 2-0 the count.
Yeah, he's 2 for 8 with just the 1 RBI, and he's really been struggling over the last 9 games, hitting just 1 for 21.
2-0 pitch in there for a strike right around the knees. Connor McCullough continuing to throw heat as so far in this inning he has not thrown a single off-speed pitch. We have seen neither the curveball nor the changeup. 2-1, another fastball. This one's going to be raked out into left field, but Chris Galland will have plenty of time to take 5 steps to his left and make the catch for out number 2.
Yeah, Hall with some solid opposite field power on that swing from a guy who doesn't have a lot of power. He put a good charge into it, but it is 340 feet down that left field line. That is, I think, the deepest left field in the entire CCBL.
It's got to be 314 to straightaway, or 314 to right field, where the foul pole plays, and then straightaway center field. I believe that's about 385. Here's a ball hit to Cavadas, who was playing in on the infield grass. He will throw across, and that's going to be in time. A 1 pitch out to Houston Morrill will end the inning. So the side is retired, 3 up, 3 down once again here for Connor McCullough. We go to the 4th, still 0-0 here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube Network. Back here at Veterans Field, Tyler Henry, Colin Casey as we go here to the 4th inning of play. And I'd like to remind you that today's broadcast is brought to you by Curry College. Earn a bachelor's or master's degree, complete a certificate, or take a single course through the Division of Continuing Education and Graduate Studies at Curry College. Classes run days, evenings, and weekends in Milton and Plymouth. To learn more about programs in business, criminal justice, education, nursing, and more, visit curry.edu.
Got a pitcher's duel here at Veterans Field in Game 1 of the first round series between the Harwich Mariners and the Chatham Anglers. Still 0-0, and Daniel Fetterman will head out and look to pitch his 4th scoreless inning. He's allowed 2 hits so far while striking out 2.
And this is about what we expected. Harwich coming into today's game, even after the 11-0 rout of the Chatham A's, is just hitting .220 against Harwich, or against Chatham pitching, while Chatham is hitting a .169 off Harwich pitching. So we kind of expected a low-scoring game coming into this one, and that's more or less what we've been treated to so far, a game that certainly has moved very quickly.
Part of the lineup due up for Harwich, it's Chris Lanzilli, who flew out to left in his first at-bat. And the first pitch from Fetterman, the righty, is fouled straight back by the right-handed hitting Lanzilli.
Of course, Daniel Fetterman was in one other game against Harwich. He was the original quote-unquote DH, used as a placeholder to get to another guy late in that game. So he did not record an official at-bat, but was in the starting lineup of Game 1 of the last home and home.
The 0-1 is swung on and missed for strike 2. Lanzilli, 7 of 10 on the season now against Chatham, with a couple of doubles and 5 RBIs. But he has yet to hit a home run this season against a right-hander. The 0-2 is golfed at, and somehow Lanzilli fouls it off to the left.
And despite a slow start to the year, I mean, again, this was a guy who was hitting 108 throughout the entire month of June. He has really been able to hit lefties well all season long, hitting .351 with all 3 of his home runs against left-handed pitchers.
Conversely, the man on deck, Nico Cavadas, all 9 of his home runs coming against righties. So an interesting dynamic in the middle of the lineup as Lanzilli skies one out towards left center field. Hall, who's had a busy night, comes over and makes the catch in left center for out number 1.
And once again, a ball that probably would have carried, certainly nowhere near the warning track, but it just kind of holds up there and stops as Hall has to come in and make a strange, awkward catch. So with 1 away, Nico Cavadas comes to the plate again, looking for his first hit of the day. Harwich with just the 2 hits so far. Dylan Noisy and Hal Hughes each reaching on a hit first time through the order.
Working from the windup, Fetterman, and his first pitch is a fastball that misses high. A check swing. They'll appeal down to third base umpire Frank Auditori, and he says he held up. It's 1-0.
Let's set the umps really quick for you. Mickey Garcia gets the start behind home plate. Tom Gandolfo at first. Pat Burns at second. And Frank Auditore is at third today. This pitch misses high. And Colin, that's the other thing that really helps out with the playoffs. You do have 4 umpires, so nobody's shifting around. Everybody's going to have a good angle. And hopefully the Cape Cod umpires are going to be good today.
Worst case scenario, they could have, of course, meet to discuss any potential close calls, as the 2-0 is a good-looking off-speed pitch from Fetterman that's over for a strike. We've seen several times this season umpires conference and overturn calls, and usually they do a good job about that and are correct, as there's a foul ball that catches the catcher Brady Smith up high.
Yeah, another ball that was just fouled off by Nico Cavadas. He's been doing that to guys all year long, not intentionally, but boy, it seems like whenever Cavadas is at the plate, he misses just by a shred on a lot of these pitches.
We've seen a couple of catchers. I think Rob Emery was one of them who took an absolute beating behind the plate.
Last time Nico Cavadas was here, he was hitting balls up onto the road in BP. So he certainly has the power. And you mentioned it is a lefty's delight to see that 314 sign out in right field, but he has not done it against a right-handed pitcher yet.
Here's the 2-2, and that's going to miss just inside on the fastball. And that right field here at Veterans Field is very reminiscent of the short porch in Yankee Stadium, where it's pretty short all the way out to right center field. So left-handers look to take advantage of that. Corey Acton certainly did the last time these two teams played. Payoff pitch is on the inside corner for strike 3, as it's another fastball from Fetterman. He picks up his 3rd strikeout, and he records the 2nd out of the inning.
Yeah, I think Cavadas was expecting something different. He did not expect the fastball, and that's what he got. So he walks back to the dugout almost instantly. And here comes Corey Acton, who's alone at bat. Was a ground out to the first baseman.
Sharply hit ball right at Alex Terral, but an easy play for the University of Miami first baseman. Now the first pitch to the University of Florida product is outside.
Yeah, Fetterman really working that changeup a lot today. He's been alternating between that and the slider. We've seen a healthy dose of fastballs too, but he's been mixing in that changeup more often than a lot of guys are willing to.
1-0 is hit high in the air, out towards center. Caden Polkovich will come in. He makes the catch for out number 3, as that's a 1-2-3 inning, the 2nd recorded by Daniel Fetterman. And we're through 3.5 innings from Veterans Field, still scoreless in Game 1 of this best-of-3 series. You're listening to the Harwich Mariners Radio Network.
Remember, there is no admission. Tonight's pass-ahead pitcher is Kobe Kubicek, and tonight
we head to the bottom of the 3rd inning, and things getting really interesting out in Wareham, as, of course, this is the Harwich Mariners and Chatham Anglers game, currently tied 0-0, but the two Kettleers, who are trailing 6-0, have now scored 5 times, and all of a sudden, in the top of the 4th, it is a 1-run ball game between them and the Wareham Gatemen.
It's also a 1-run ball game out at Falmouth, as the Bourne Braves have struck twice to make it a 3-2 game. So throughout today's games going on right now, all 4 of them, there have been a combined 15 runs, and all of them have been in the West. 2 pitchers duels going on in the East, as Orleans and YD knotted up 0-0 in the bottom of the 3rd. Here in the bottom of the 4th, it's 0-0 Harwich Chatham.
First pitch to Aaron Polensky misses low, and I think that's just a reflection of the East has tended to be a better pitching team better pitching division this year, whereas the West has had a lot more power in the bats, as there's a hard ground ball by Polensky outside the 3rd base bag foul.
And that makes me notice once again, Nico Cavadas is playing awfully close, as upon that swing, he came up onto the infield grass. So maybe not expecting a potential bunt here from Aaron Polensky as he comes in again.
Polensky currently 1 for 6 as a member of the Anglers. That pitch from McCullough misses low. So small sample size, but he could maybe be the piece that this lineup needs in Chatham, as he's ahead in the count now, 3-1 on McCullough.
Not a lot of guys get that far ahead of McCullough. He'll have to try to fight his way back. You wonder whether or not he'll go to the fastball here, a pitch that he is heavily favored throughout the course of this game.
McCullough, the righty out of Kansas State, with the 3-1, and that one is on the outside corner at 87, full count.
So there's the fastball that you mentioned, and see whether or not he goes back to it again here with a 3-2 count. This is usually where we see him pull the string.
Here's the pitch, and it is grounded foul, just outside of third.
Yep, another fastball there, and again, I mean, he has just been pounding the zone with those fastballs. It's really throwing the hitters for a loop, as at some point you think, well, you got to get a breaking ball, but nobody's getting one.
42 pitches in just over 3 innings of work, and the 3-2, there's a breaking ball, but it misses low. A good take by Polensky, and he's aboard to lead off the bottom of the fourth, rather.
And now we'll see whether or not the blazing speed of Polensky comes into play here. Again, Harwich was playing awfully close to the line. They wanted to make sure that they had a chance to nail him, and we'll see whether or not he risks taking second, as the only other guy who has reached base today, Caden Polkovich, comes to the plate. He was hit by a pitch.
Polkovich came into today just 2 of 19 against Harwich this season, but he has walked 6 times, so has shown a bit of patience at the plate. And he takes a first pitch outside, the switch hitting center fielder out of Northwestern Florida State. It's not a huge school, but he's had himself a pretty solid season with the Chatham Anglers. And a pickoff moved first on Polensky. Caden Polkovich hit .279 on the regular season, 4 home runs, and 28 RBIs, and he lays off another pitch. So McCullough having a little bit of trouble finding the zone to begin the bottom of the fourth.
Yeah, and really not typical of what we see out of Connor McCullough. Usually his control is one of his strong suits. As, again, coming into this game, he has, on the season, 30 strikeouts to 8 walks.
There's another ball on a fastball just high, and now a 3-0 count to Polkovich with the cleanup man Ben Ramirez waiting in the on-deck circle.
It's a risky proposition. McCullough's got to fight his way back here.
3-0 misses up and away. It's a 4-pitch walk to Caden Polkovich, and the first 2 runners of the bottom of the fourth reach base for the Chatham Anglers.
And so far, still no hits given up, but 3 base runners, a hit by pitch, and now back-to-back walks to Aaron Polensky and Caden Polkovich. And Harwich may be in some trouble here. Runner in scoring position, nobody out. This will prompt, looks like Chris Lanzillian, also the Harwich catcher, Pat Winkle, to come out and have a word with their guy.
It was Winkle, Hal Hughes, and McCullough just talking on the mound, and it was a brief conversation. You wonder if Hughes was talking about maybe a possible pickoff move on the lead man Polensky on second base, Polkovich on first, and USC's Ben Ramirez at the plate.
Yep, Ramirez has been getting it done all season long. Part of the reason why here in the postseason, he is the cleanup man.
McCullough will bluff onto second with a pickoff move. Ramirez has looked really good against right-handers this season, hitting .319 with the 1 home run and 10 runs driven in. First pitch is a high fly ball into shallow center. Backing up is Hughes, and he will make the catch. Neither runner advances, and there's 1 away in the inning.
And that's a big out, number 1, because now the double play comes into effect, and you can find a way to potentially double off Jamal O'Gwyn. And honestly, Connor McCullough has been more or less a ground ball pitcher throughout a majority of this season, so we'll see whether or not he can get a good ground ball here, and Harwich can utilize that spectacular defense to find a way to get out of this inning.
So here's O'Gwyn. Flew out in the second in his only at-bat. First pitch from McCullough is a fastball in tight for a ball. O'Gwyn, a teammate of Ben Ramirez's at University of Southern California. A couple of Trojans batting 4 and 5 in this Chatham Anglers lineup. The 1-0. Another fastball, and this one does catch the inside corner.
And you see McCullough right now going to the gas and keeping it low. That's your best alternative against a guy like Jamal O'Gwyn. Try to get him to put it on the ground somewhere and just kind of spike it for the double play ball.
O'Gwyn looking for his first RBI against the Mariners this season. He's got a couple of runs scored, but hasn't driven anyone in. And the 1-1 goes off of Winkle's glove, but not far enough away for Polinsky to take third base.
Yeah, good stop there by Winkle just to get enough on it that he can kind of patter away and pick the ball up before any damage was done. That's the one thing you can't afford right now is to lose the prospect of the potential double play and put two guys in scoring position with only one out.
Harwich middle infielders Acton and Hughes in double play depth. McCullough's 2-1 is fouled off towards the parking lot out of play.
A quick update from Wareham. Katuin has struck again, and we have a tie ball game, 6-6. So that has turned into a crazy one out there in Wareham. Still in the top of the fourth.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 away in the inning. McCullough looking to record a big out on Jamal O'Gwyn. Here's the pitch. It's a breaking ball, lined in, caught. The throw comes back to first, and he's safe. As Lanzilli tagging up and taking off at third, as a very heads-up play by Aaron Polensky. The line drive went to Corey Acton. He made the catch. The throw came to first. Lanzilli tried applying the tag, and the first base umpire, Gandolfo, said that he did not apply the tag in time. And meanwhile, with a dispute from Lanzilli, Aaron Polensky took third base, so the first run of the ball game 90 feet away at third.
And here comes Coach Englert. He wants to have a word with the first base umpire, Tom Gandolfo, about this play. It was very close at first. That one could go either way. And again, I mean, Lanzilli's holding up the glove, showing, hey, I've got the ball here. But as that's going on, a heads-up play by Polensky to take third. So as you mentioned, anything that gets through the gap should score 1 here. As coming up to the plate will be Alex Terral. The argument is over here from Coach Steve Englert, but this could turn into a pivotal swing moment as, again, it could have been a potential double play. Now Terral has an opportunity to drive in the first run of the game.
Alex Terral out of the University of Miami had a huge hit earlier in the year, a game-tying 2-run double against the Harwich Mariners. It was off Tommy Vale, as stepping off and reconvening is McCullough. That made the game 4-4 at the time. Runner going, and first pitch swinging is Terral, as getting a great jump in. He probably would have been there easily over at first, was Caden Polkovich.
Yeah, we've seen Polkovich's speed all year long. One of the quicker outfielders in the entire CCBL, and not afraid to try to swipe it back here and put another runner in scoring position, as they'd love to find a way to get 2 here. No lead is going to really feel safe for either of these teams, as both have come back and won against the other at some point or another.
Chatham's got runners at the corners. They have yet to record a base hit in this game against Connor McCullough, but a couple of walks has them in business. The 0-1 misses just outside.
Yeah, this is arguably the biggest moment of the entire game. We don't know what will transpire after this, and we know that runs are going to come at a premium, so big chance here for the Chatham Anglers to find a way to get a run. Harwich needing to snuff this out.
1-1 Terral. Misses high. Alex Terral lined out sharply to right field. He actually didn't miss a home run by a lot, as Joey Weimer had to go back just in front of the warning track to make a play on that ball. So he'll look to find a gap here and give his team an early lead. The 2-1. Fastball just inside.
And McCullough's fallen behind here 3-1. We've seen him get into this situation a couple of times today. Looking to work his way out of it here. Just needs 1 more out and the inning is over, with the ever-dangerous Alex Terral standing at the plate.
Jorge Arenas in the on-deck circle. The 3-1. Polkovich takes off, and swing and a miss for strike 2 as Caden Polkovich ends up at second base. So now 2 runners in scoring position and a full count with 2 away as the crowd getting antsy here at Veterans Field. McCullough will work from the windup now with 2 guys in scoring position, and Alex Terral at the plate. The windup and the payoff pitch. Breaking ball misses inside for ball 4, and the bases are going to be loaded for Jorge Arenas.
3 consecutive walks here issued by Connor McCullough. Again, a guy who came into today's game with 29 strikeouts and only 8 walks. This is very uncharacteristic of him, and he's put all 4 guys who have been on base today there himself as the only other guy to reach reached on a hit by pitch. So the control issues continue here for Connor McCullough, really for the first time in his 2019 season, and now he'll have to face Jorge Arenas.
The first pitch to Arenas is a fastball up and away. Jorge Arenas in a great spot to break a tough stretch at the plate for him. He has 2 of his last 28 with the lone RBI. The 1-0. Broken bat, ball right side. McCullough's going to cover at first, and he tags the bag as the Mariners somehow get out of the inning unscathed, and the side is retired. So, the Chatham Anglers are able to load the bases with 3 walks, but can't get a crucial hit to bring home the first run. We're through 4 innings from Veterans Field. Nothing's your score. You're listening to the Harwich Mariners Radio Network.
It's baseball season. That means grilling season, and nobody knows grilling like these. Time to check out the Snack Shack. Zach will make you a hamburger or a cheeseburger.
No score still after 4 innings from Veterans Field. Colin Casey alongside Tyler Henry bring you coverage of the Harwich Mariners playoff run, as Tyler, a really big opportunity in the last half inning for the Chatham Anglers, but they just couldn't quite get that big hit they needed.
And it really looked like for a second they were going to get it anyway, as a broken bat by Jorge Arenas took the ball up the left side. It forced Lanzilli to come off the bag, and McCullough almost didn't get there in time to cover. But at the end of the day, disaster averted, and now the offense can go back to work, trying to score the first run of this game.
Dylan Noisy going to lead things off. He has one of the 2 Harwich hits in the ballgame, the other belonging to Hal Hughes, the 9-hitter. So bottom of the lineup providing a bit of a spark. Let's see if they can give the Mariners an early lead as Noisy, the Texas Tech outfielder, digs in.
Quick scoreboard update really quickly. The Orleans Firebirds have taken a 1-0 lead over the Whitey Red Sox, courtesy of a Shea Whitcomb RBI double. And elsewhere in Katuitt, or in Wareham, I should say, the Kettleers are up 7-6. As they started off down 6-0, they've made a late comeback, and that game's still just in the 4th inning.
Shea Whitcomb continues to be arguably the most valuable player for the Orleans Firebirds, as he gives his team a 1-0 lead early. First pitch of the inning from Fetterman is fouled straight back by Dylan Noisy.
You know, at some point in this season, probably around early July, if you had asked me how comfortable I was with Harwich needing 1 run and anybody in the lineup other than Nico Cavadas getting a home run to do it, I would have said very uncomfortable. But at this point, almost everybody in this lineup has taken 1 yard at one point or another. This one misses low in the dirt, and it's been from all over the place. It's been guys like Dylan Noisy, who has 2. Corey Acton's got a pair for himself. Fetco still has the 1. Winkle has 1 recently, and you know, that really helps Harwich's chances here, as they could potentially get it done with 1 swing.
Looked like an off-speed pitch in for strike 2 to Dylan Noisy, as Noisy has hit 1 against a lefty and 1 against a righty. One of the few Mariners with a multi-home run game this season. Chris Lanzilli, Nico Cavadas also hitting multiple home runs in a single game, as 1-2 is a fastball high.
Quick update on the update that I just gave. The Whitey Red Sox take the lead right back. They're up 3-1 over the Orleans Firebirds. That game in the top of the 4th.
So YD continues to show how much offense they have in that lineup. The 2-2 from Daniel Fetterman is hit high in the air, out behind short. 3 guys converging, but Caden Polkovich calls off his middle infielders for out number 1.
Dylan Noisy had one of the only hits of the day, and he is going to be retired on that one. Got way under it. So here comes Christian Fetco. Fetco is 0 for 1 today with a strikeout. Again, the DH hitting in the 9 hole. It'll be righty on righty here.
Noisy a bit frustrated with himself after, walking back to the dugout after he got a pretty good pitch to hit, but couldn't quite drive it. So Fetterman continues to be phenomenal to start the game for Chatham, and his first pitch is a fastball that misses inside to Fedko.
And this is not the Fetterman that I think you or I expected to come into this game. Again, he had given up 16 earned runs throughout just 25 innings this year. Certainly a guy that, had quality pitches, but not somebody we expected to come out and shut Harwich down the way he has so far.
The 1-0 is on the outside corner for a strike, and he has been good, but he is at 72 pitches, and it looks like Chatham is starting to get a left-hander warming in the pen. So, question is, how much longer will Coach Holliday let Fetterman continue to pitch? As the 1-1 is on the outside corner again, he's doing a great job of keeping the ball away on Christian Fedko, 1-2.
Yeah, the other big question is who will come in to replace him. As Harwich has really jumped out on certain bullpens this year, Chatham being one of them a few days ago. So we'll see who they get to replace Fetterman and how much longer he is allowed to continue into this game.
Soft grounder to the pitcher. Fetterman underhands it over to Terral, and it's 2 quick outs in the top of the 5th for the Chatham Anglers.
And that's certainly going to help Fetterman's case to go longer innings into this game, as if he can get through this with only 75 or 76 pitches thrown, if he can get a quick out to Pat Winkle, we'll certainly see him come out for the 6th inning of play, maybe even longer.
For the YD Red Sox, it was a big top of the 4th inning, which is still ongoing. Actually, it just concluded, but picked up 3 runs, including an RBI double from Tate Samuelson and a 2-run home run for Andrew Eister. So they find themselves ahead of the Orleans Firebirds as first pitch to Pat Winkle is on the outside corner for a strike.
The Bourne Braves find themselves down to their final 3 outs as they go to the top of the 9th, trailing 2-3 to Falmouth.
Game certainly feels like it's flown by as the 0-1 is waved at and missed as Pat Winkle trying to break a 3-for-22 drought. Does have a home run, though, in that 6-game stretch, coming against the YD Red Sox at Red Wilson Field. The 0-2 to the Yukon catcher is flared off to the left out of play just past the light tower.
Yeah, Winkle's got himself into a tough spot here, and he has not been the most offensive player this year. We've talked about what makes Pat Winkle special. It's his aggressiveness at the plate, but that's kind of come back to bite him when he gets into situations like this. We've seen a lot of strikeouts this season from Winkle. See whether or not he gets a little bit more protective here.
Bleachers at Veterans Field at max capacity as 0-2 comes inside, nearly takes Pat Winkle's head off as it goes to the backstop for ball 1.
Yeah, he just ducked out of the way of that, an 89-mile-an-hour fastball delivered in there by Fetterman. And, that's the kind of pitch that can change the course of an at-bat. Fetterman's going to be careful here, probably still thinking about losing that last pitch, and we'll see whether or not he rallies and puts something in the zone here or whether he drops it out again.
Fetterman with the 1-2 is fouled off yet again down the left field line. That will make its way over the fence.
Well, to his credit, here's Pat Winkle turning it into a long at bat. So I talked about how aggressive he's been. That seems to have let up a little bit here, at least today.
This will be the 80th pitch from Daniel Fetterman, who is trying to make it a full 5 shutout innings. He's got a 1-2 count on Pat Winkle, youngest player on the Harwich Mariners roster. Fetterman's wind up the 1-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Blew a fastball by him at 92. I believe that's the hardest fastball of the night for Daniel Fetterman, and the inning is over. We're halfway through this one. 0-0 still the score. You're listening to the Harwich Mariners Radio Network. Chatham Anglers look to build off of a strong last bottom of the fourth inning in which they loaded the bases but were unable to score against the Harwich Mariners, as game still remains scoreless in the bottom of the fifth with the 8, 9, and 1 hitters due up for Chatham.
And Colin, I think it's worth mentioning at this point that this is a Chatham squad that is actually light a couple of players. There were some guys that really just kind of weren't interested in continuing the CCBL season, and Tom Holliday said, well, if you guys don't want to be here, we'll send you home. So they released in a giant dump Saul Garza, Anthony Villar, Jack Owen, and Hugh Fisher all in one go, and those guys no longer with this Chatham team. A couple of big names in there, including Anthony Villar, who had some good success against Harwich, but I mean, again, he'd rather have guys that are here that really want to be here than guys who are really good that are dragging their heels.
Connor McCullough out for his fifth inning of work as he throws a first pitch fastball in the outside corner to Brady Smith, who struck out looking in the third. Now a breaking ball that misses below the knees to even things up.
Yep, counts a 1-1 here on Brady Smith, trying to get something started again here for a Chatham team that, as you mentioned, loaded the bases just an inning ago.
McCullough goes back to the breaking ball as he locates that one much better for strike two. Connor McCullough so far through 4 innings, 3 strikeouts, 3 walks, and a hit batter, but still no hits allowed as there's a ground ball to short. Hal Hughes fields it cleanly. Throw on to first is in time, so 4 1/3 innings of scoreless ball for Connor McCullough.
Yep, and with the top of the order looming again, you wonder when that first hit's going to come. Houston Morrill, Aaron Polensky, and Caden Polkovich. But first, it'll be Colin Hall. Hall so far today is 0 for 1 with a fly out to left field.
Yeah, Hall couldn't quite get a ball down, hitting it the other way. A good piece of hitting, but right at Chris Galland. As McCullough's first pitch to the Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket misses outside. Three of the 4 base runners for Chatham coming from the top of the order, so the bottom of the order trying to pick up the slack as once again Hall hits one out towards left field, a lazy fly ball that Chris Galland has no problem tracking. He makes the catch for out number 2.
Yep, so here comes Houston Morrill. You wonder whether or not Morrill will take a pitch. He struck out on 4 pitches his first time up, and then on the first pitch on the first pitch of his second at bat, he grounded one out to the third baseman Cavadas. So see whether or not he's a little bit more patient here. So far, he's played more or less right into McCullough's hands, and Tom Holliday wants to come and have a word with him. That may be what this is about.
Yeah, this is a quick discussion here, as it looks like Coach Holliday picked something up that fell from Houston Morrill. Not exactly sure what it is, but he's having a discussion real quick.
It's turning into a lengthy discussion. Not really sure what this is all about, but he does get something back to Morrill. I don't know for a fact, but I think it may have been the little tool they keep on the barrel of the bat to try to measure bat speed and some of the other advanced analytics, and they may have spent some time there securing it to the bat again.
Nevertheless, play resumes, and first pitch fastball from McCullough misses outside. Houston Morrill out of Oklahoma State, hitting .333 against the Mariners this season, as the 1-0 is just below the knees.
Yep, McCullough falls behind again here, 2-0 this time. Trying to pitch carefully to Houston Morrill, who's swung at a couple of bad pitches out of the zone. We'll see whether or not he can get him to chase something here.
2-0, and that just misses outside as McCullough's trying to catch that corner, but hasn't been able to do it as he's in danger of putting on a 2-out base runner in Houston Morrill, 3-0.
Seemed like he got it earlier on, but not lately.
That fastball is over, so he at least delays the walk a pitch further. What would be his 4th walk of the game, as he's kind of had inauspicious control, but he's fighting back as Houston Morrill has to foul that pitch off, and the count is now full.
And to his credit, he had fought back a couple of kind of tough pitch counts earlier in this game, so not something we're not accustomed to seeing him do, as here he's got a 3-2.
Looking to make it 5 scoreless, and the payoff pitch comes in, and they're going to say it glanced off of the jersey of Houston Morrill, so that'll officially be ruled a hit by pitch. And Morrill heads down to first. The second batter hit in this one by Connor McCullough.
Yeah, weird day for Connor McCullough, who, again, he has allowed 6 base runners, no hits yet, but he has walked 5 base runners. He's walked 3, and he's hit 2 guys. So just an interesting day for him, and they're going to put the speed of Huey Morrill on at first base with Aaron Polensky coming to the plate.
First pitch is a fastball high. Looks like McCullough's kind of overthrowing that fastball a little bit and having trouble getting it down into the strike zone. Polensky in his first game against Harwich tonight, 0 for 1 with a walk. And the 1-0 is hit out towards center field, but Dylan Noisy is under it. He makes the catch, and the inning is over. So despite a 2-out hit batsman, Connor McCullough makes it through 5 innings scoreless. We are still scoreless, 0-0 the score from Veterans Field. You are listening to Harwich Mariners playoff baseball on the Harwich Mariners Radio Network.
We're still looking for more supporters to
back at Veterans Field, White House Field, the location of where tomorrow's game will be. But for now, we're still here in Chatham as Daniel Fetterman's night is done. He goes 5 scoreless innings, giving up just 2 hits while striking out 4. And the new pitcher in this one is going to be Austin Vernon. Vernon pitched against the Harwich Mariners the last time these two teams played and gave up 3 earned runs in 3 innings, as it was a big 3-run home run from Corey Ecken. But Vernon gets a chance to redeem himself, the right-hander out of NC Central. He's appeared in 8 games this season with a 3.91 ERA, and Tyler, he's kind of been Jekyll and Hyde against the Mariners. He had one really good outing and one not-so-good outing.
Well, and actually he had 2 really good outings as he pitched against Harwich back on July 2nd and didn't allow a single run through 2 1/3. Then, as you mentioned, he had the incredible outing where he pitched against Harwich in game 1 of that series, on June 20th, or July 20th, I should say. In that game, he went 2 innings, didn't give up a single run, and struck out 3 guys. And then, of course, there was the game most recently against Harwich where he went 3 full innings and allowed 3 hits and 3 runs to come across the score. So we'll see which Austin Vernon we get. But, certainly a guy who's shown he is capable of being one of the top pitchers in this league. We'll see whether or not he can actually take advantage or whether or not Harwich can jump on him for a second time this year and maybe finally see some runs in this game.
Hal Hughes, the leadoff hitter, shortstop out of LSU, is 1 for 1. Had a single in the 3rd with 1 away in the inning. Hughes looking to start something to begin the 6th. First pitch, a good-looking fastball that misses outside at 95 miles an hour from Vernon.
At 95 miles an hour, there's the 2-seam, a little late tailing action on that one coming away from Hal Hughes.
Another fastball lined into left field for a base hit, so Hal Hughes seeing the ball really well out of that 9 spot. He's now 2 for 2.
Hal Hughes may have just been saving up all of his hits against Chatham for the playoffs. As, again, he was 0 for 16 coming into today's game, but so far he's 2 for 2, and Harwich will flip the book. It'll be Joey Weimer coming to the plate here with a runner on base and nobody out.
So Vernon will try to rebound against the top of the order, who hitters 1 through 5 are currently 0 for 10 for the Mariners in this game, with a couple of strikeouts, and Weimer owns one of them. He popped out in the 1st and then struck out swinging in the 3rd. Vernon, a towering right-hander, his first pitch is swung on and missed for strike 1 at 6'7", 290 pounds, so not too hard to pick him out of the bullpen.
Not particularly. He's built like an offensive lineman, but he's got some really good velocity on the fastball, some really good movement on his off-speed.
And another fastball, and that one's on the outside corner. Weimer didn't like the call, but he's down 0-2. Joey Weimer's just 2 of his last 20 with a double, so he hasn't had his best last couple of games of the season. As the 0-2 is chopped foul.
And there's the breaking ball from Austin Vernon. Just a 2-pitch guy, fastball, curveball for him. He was listed on the D1 Baseball's 2020 Top 150 Prospects list, and he's been kind of getting it done all throughout the course of his career. In 2019, a 4.09 ERA, but 57 strikeouts to only 21 walks. So this is a guy that hitters really struggle to put the ball in play on.
Pickoff move on first, and that ratio carried over this year on the Cape. 31 strikeouts, just 9 walks in the regular season.
A couple of those walks were big ones coming against Harwich during the 11-0 Mariner victory.
The 0-2. Breaking ball misses just inside. Vernon, it's actually his 3rd consecutive game against Harwich, so he's gotten to know this lineup a ton.
Yep, and even with a couple of different looks thrown at him from Harwich, you go through any lineup that many times, you're going to know what guys' tendencies are.
Hughes the lead off first. The 1-2 is a breaking ball that gets away from the catcher, Brady Smith, and Hal Hughes advances to second. So a runner in scoring position with nobody out here in the top of the 6th for Harwich.
Yep, second time today, Harwich has had a runner on second, but the first time it was Dylan Noisy who got on with 2 away. So this is the best chance Harwich has had to score a run all game long, and with the top of the order up, you get the feeling this is going to have to be the part of the game where they score as Vernon steps off the rubber, wants a second to think things over. Now he'll set once again and face Joey Weimer with a 2-2 count.
And Brady Smith's actually going to come out and talk with his pitcher. So they will have a brief mound visit.
That'll give us a chance to update you on scores around the league. The Falmouth Commodores take the first victory of the 2019 CCBL playoffs by a score of 3-2 over the Bourne Braves. The Katuitt Kettleers still hold a 7-6 lead over the Wareham Gatemen. That game in the bottom of the 6th. And in the top of the 5th, the YD Red Sox are still up on the Orleans Firebirds 3-1.
So some very tight games all throughout the CCBL. The 2-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. The ball gets away. Smith picks it up. Throw to first is in time, but Hal Hughes advances to third. It's a productive first out for Joey Weimer, and the go-ahead run is 90 feet away from home with 1 out in the inning.
Not very often you see a productive strikeout, and if I'm being perfectly honest, if Smith had really been thinking about it, he probably could have thrown down to third base and nailed Hal Hughes, but he's so concerned about getting the ball off and firing the strike to first base to get Weimer that's going to put the go-ahead run just 90 feet away here.
Infield in for Chatham as they look to cut down that runner at the plate should Hughes try to score on a ground ball. Chris Gallen, the batter, and first pitch he sees is a fastball with some cutting action missing just outside.
Yeah, I mentioned that late break on the 2-seam for Austin Vernon. We'll see whether or not that's what he goes with again here. You get the feeling just trying to get something on the ground here to give his defense a chance.
Gallen hits this one out towards left center. Let's see if it's deep enough. Hall comes in, makes a catch. Hughes will tag. Here comes the throw to the plate. It's going to be close, and the ball gets away, and Hal Hughes scores. A sacrifice fly for Chris Gallen, and the Mariners strike first. 1-0 they lead.
And that's all it takes sometimes. Just look at the way that happens. Hal Hughes gets on first base. He advances on the Joey Weimer drop third strike, and then a Chris Gallen sac fly is all it takes to bring him in. Harwich leads 1-0 in a game that honestly could very well see no more runs scored from here on in. But with Chris Lanzilli at the plate, Harwich could be looking for one more here.
The throw from Colin Hall kind of took a weird bounce after it hit the dirt in front of the plate, and Smith couldn't corral it as the first pitch to Chris Lanzilli is over for strike 1. Lanzilli's got a couple of flyouts to left. He will face another right-hander, this one being Vernon, who's currently on the hook for the loss now, as Vernon pulls the string going 77 miles an hour on that breaking ball, and he's ahead of 0-2 on Lanzilli.
Yep, one more strike is all he needs, but Chris Lanzilli, we've seen him barrel a few up here. You don't want to try to challenge this guy with a fastball.
The 0-2 is waved at, missed, strike 3. 3 breaking balls to Chris Lanzilli. The throw in is a low one from Smith, but Alex Terrell able to dig it out between his legs, and the inning is over. But not before the Harwich Mariners strike first on a Chris Gallen sacrifice fly. It is 1-0 through 5.5 innings. You're listening to the Harwich Mariners Radio Network.
table over there. And at the sales table, select shirts.
Bottom of the sixth from Veterans Field, the Mariners take a 1-0 lead in the top half of the inning, and Tyler, it was just all about fundamental baseball, manufacturing runs, and that might be the only run that Harwich needs if they want to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, the defense has looked phenomenal, and the pitching has looked even better, although, again, it's been a weird day for Connor McCullough. They've had the bases loaded at one point in the fourth inning, and then he's hit two other guys in other individual innings, yet somehow Chatham has not gotten a hit yet. So, you know, they've had base runners, but if Connor McCullough can shorten up on the control a little bit here, that could stop here pretty quickly.
First pitch swinging is Caden Polkovich, who is yet to record an official at-bat in this game as he fouls first pitch off to the left. He was hit by a pitch in the bottom of the first and walked in the bottom of the fourth.
Connor McCullough right now working on his 77th pitch of the outing, which will miss outside for a ball. So pitch count starting to become a bit of a factor here for McCullough, although keep in mind with him taking time off via the transfer rules in the NCAA, his arm is still fresher than most at this point in the season.
Breaking ball at 75, swung on and missed by Polkovich. There is a right-hander warming out in the Mariners bullpen, as the 1-2 pitch misses outside. I'm going to go out on a limb. Hopefully I'm right, and I believe that is Ortiz warming in the pen. Devin Ortiz, but we'll have to double check that as a 2-2 misses away, so it's a full count to lead off the inning for Polkovich.
Yeah, and after utilizing a lot of fastballs early on, McCullough is really starting to go to the off-speed here later into the game. So using up all of his energy with fastballs early, and
there's going to be called strike 3 on Polkovich. He can't believe it, and so Connor McCullough picks up a big out number 1.
Yeah, it's a big strikeout, but as I mentioned, early on in the game when he had the energy going for him, he used the fastball more. Now he can get into the off-speed and get a little bit craftier as he faces the lineup here for a third time, and here comes Ben Ramirez, who is 0 for 2 with a fly out and a ground out.
So here's Ramirez, first pitch to the lefty, misses high. It turns out I was, in fact, incorrect, as the right-hander warming the pen for the Mariners is actually Carson Seymour.
So it can go from Kansas State Wildcat to Kansas State Wildcat here, as Seymour's starting service is not really needed as much in the postseason. That's a big hook there in there for strike 1.
Seems like McCullough's curveball has gotten stronger and stronger as his outing's gone on. He's just had trouble locating the heater, as there's another good breaking ball, and Ramirez way out in front, 1-2.
And you can tell McCullough's locked in now. He's got all three pitches working for him. We haven't seen the changeup yet, but see whether or not he brings one of those home here, facing off against Ben Ramirez. He's got him eating out of an 0-2 or 1-2 hole.
From the windup, the pitch fouled off towards the Harwich on-deck circle.
Had Ben Ramirez completely fooled there. Ramirez potentially sitting on another off-speed pitch. He gets the fastball instead. So, again, McCullough's got a lot of options here. He can still play with Ramirez a little bit. 2 pitches left to waste, but knowing McCullough, he might just go right at him here.
Another 1-2, a breaking ball swung on and missed for strike 3 as Connor McCullough, with his strongest start to an inning so far with back-to-back Ks on Polkovich and Ramirez, and he looks to strike out the side against the heart of the Chatham order.
Yep, he's got 5 strikeouts so far, and now he'll face Jamal O'Gwyn, who is 0 for 2. A fly out and a line out on the broken bat.
And O'Gwyn swings the first pitch and fouls it off of Pat Winkle's glove for strike 1.
But, I mean, you can tell McCullough reaches back and grabs a little something extra for that. That fastball coming in at about 90 miles an hour. It's been hovering at about 89 throughout the game. See whether he goes off speed here.
The 0-1 is on the outside corner for strike 2. Another fastball at 88 on what was his 88th pitch of the night. So he looks to get one more strike and make it through 6 shutout innings. The pitch just outside is, wow, it looked like everyone on the left side of the field for the Mariners took a couple of steps towards the Harwich dugout.
Yeah, that one probably in the zone, but they give the hitter the benefit of the doubt with a 1-2 count. And we'll see whether he goes to a 4th consecutive fastball here, does McCullough.
1-2 to O'Gwyn is a chopper towards the left side, charging his Cavadas. He gloves it. Throw on to first is in time. Nico Cavadas charges that ball and makes the throw across the diamond for out number 3. It's a 1-2-3, bottom of the 6th inning for Connor McCullough, which will likely be his final inning in this ball game. He goes 6 shutout innings, and we head to the 7th with the Mariners leading 1-0 in Game 1 of this playoff series between them and the Chatham Anglers. You're listening to the Harwich Mariners Radio Network.
Which will be held at the end of the 7th inning.
Back here once again at Veterans Field, where it is a 1-0 Harwich Mariners lead over the Chatham Anglers. And a quick reminder, this game is brought to you in part by Cape Cod Healthcare. What's donated here stays here. All blood that is donated to Cape Cod Healthcare stays on Cape Cod to help the lives of your friends, family, and neighbors. Learn more about donating blood, platelets, or hosting a blood drive at capecodhealth.org/blood center.
So a new pitcher coming into the game here for the Chatham A's. It will be Luke Bartnicki taking over for Austin Vernon. Your hunch was correct, Colin. Vernon brought in to face the 3 righties in the Harwich lineup, and he was able to retire 3 of the 4 he faced. How he got on and came across the score of the run, that's all it took. So it'll be Bartnicki's the rest of the way, and he's had a lot of success against Harwich so far this year. He's allowed just 2 earned runs and 5 hits throughout 10 innings against the M's, and that is the most by any pitcher. So the lefty will come in, and Colin look to hold the 1-run deficit until runs can be scored potentially here by Chatham.
And that's really important because we've seen Chatham a couple of times against the Mariners this season come back and win games against Harwich because their bullpen has been able to keep it a close game. Austin Vernon was actually one of the guys who was able to keep the game close when Chatham was able to mount a comeback right here at Veterans Field. Let's see if Bartnicki can do the same thing. He's one of the better relievers in this bullpen, and he's going to face a couple of lefties and then a righty.
So we will see what he comes with here as he'll face Nico Cavadas to start off the inning, as it really wasn't a bad outing, all things considered, by Austin Vernon, as the first pitch will miss for a ball. He got the 2 strikeouts and then the fly ball out to left field, but a base hit by Hal Hughes, who then moved up on a pass ball, came around to third on the drop third strike, and then comes in to score on a sac fly. And in a day without offense, it's kind of fitting that that's how the first and only run of the game so far has been scored. Here's the 1-0 from Bartnicki to Cavadas. That'll miss outside, and the count is 2-0 here.
Luke Bartnicki out of Georgia Tech. 3-1 on the season with a 3.19 ERA, and opponents hitting just .224 against him, so the lefty, very difficult to solve this season.
Bartnicki's next pitch will miss in the dirt, another fastball at 91, and let's get into what he throws. A fastball that'll be between 89 and 95, and if that seems like a big range, it has been that inconsistent this year. He also features a curveball, a changeup, and a slider that he does not go to very often. Here he will put a pitch right down Main Street to Cavadas. Count is 3-1, Nico taking all the way.
Yeah, Nico looking to kind of pick up back to where he was earlier in the month, where he was the hottest hitter in the entire league.
He takes a big, healthy cut at that, but swings through it and evens the count here at 3-2. Actually got a piece of it, and that will skip back to the backstop. So Luke Bartnicki looking to continue his success against the Harwich Mariners. He was rated as the #1 pitcher in the state of Georgia out of high school, #3 nationally. Here he will have Cavadas swinging out ahead of this one and fouling it back down the first base line.
Yeah, Bartnicki's lone loss in the season came against the Harwich Mariners a short time ago, back on July 28th.
He's got kind of an uncommon delivery when you watch him from the windup. It's not as standard as some other guys. Very close, very tight, very late. As he gets Cavadas to foul another fastball back to the screen. The count stays full here. And Colin, with all his success this year against Harwich, you wonder whether or not he'll be kind of left in there to pitch the rest of the game. You get the feeling, worst case scenario, they hold the lead at 1-0 Harwich, and if it comes down to it, you save your other arms for Game 2 tomorrow. Bartnicki from the windup, the big southpaw kicks and deals. That will miss low and away, and Nico Cavadas is aboard here with a leadoff walk.
Yeah, just the first walk drawn by the Mariners all game long. It comes in the top of the 7th inning. And back to your point on Bartnicki, I think you do let him kind of ride it out as far as he can really go, because you have another lefty specialist in Jeremy Wu Yellen that you could use in a game too if necessary. So a leadoff walk, but Bartnicki, we know, can really fight back, especially when he puts guys on base.
So here comes Corey Acton. Acton today has a ground out and a fly out. Runner on first, nobody out. First pitch, and he will foul this one back into the catcher's mitt for strike 1.
Yeah, Acton, as we mentioned, has been a guy who's hit the ball really well against lefties this year. .357 average with a home run, that coming at Eldridge Park against Orleans.
Only 3 different Mariners have reached base in this game, but it's been enough as they hold a 1-0 lead here in the 7th. Pitch to Acton. Big swing and a miss. Acton seems like he's swinging for the fences the last couple of days. And, I mean, with the kind of success he's had, it's not that big of a surprise, but he may need to settle his swing down a little bit here and just focus on putting the ball in play.
Certainly not one of those games where power is going to be the difference maker.
It could be with as low scoring as it is, but very unlikely given what we've seen so far. The 0-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Corey Acton down on 3 pitches, and that'll be his first strikeout of the day. Dylan Noisy coming to the plate next.
Yeah, it was a good-looking off-speed pitch from Bart Nicky that caught Corey Acton way out in front, and I'm not surprised that he went to that off-speed pitch considering how hard Acton was swinging. He was looking for something hard, so good job by Bart Nicky to pull the string, and he gets a pretty big out number 1 here in the top of the 7th.
So back-to-back aggressive hitters as Dylan Noisy, who's got a single and a stolen base today, stands in. Noisy 1 for 2, the right-handed hitter out of Texas Tech. Will take the first pitch, a fastball, and foul it off back to the screen.
1 run on 3 hits for Harwich so far, while Chatham, no runs and still looking for their first hit after 6 innings of play.
And again, they've had 5 different base runners, but still no hits for the Chatham A's. Noisy stands in once again. Bart Nicky ready with the 0-1 pitch. He'll check the runner and bring it home. And that's going to be taken up the middle. It's double playable as they flip to short way for 1, the long way for 2. And it's going to be an inning-ending 4-6-3 double play as Morrill flips to Ramirez to Terral. And that'll do it for the 7th. We go to the bottom half here after the break. Still a 1-0 lead for the Mariners on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back to Veterans Field. It's 7th inning stretch time. Tyler Henry, Colin Casey, and a new pitcher coming into the game for the Harwich Mariners. It will not be Carson Seymour. It will be Colin. Joe Boyle, the team's typical closer. And Colin, you wonder whether or not they're expecting him to maybe go out there and get 3 innings of work as, again, he had already shut down one team earlier this year in a doubleheader game. He went 3 scoreless innings. So, you know, a big move here. What is your thought on this?
Well, the big X factor for Joe Boyle has been and always will be control. We know how hard the guy can throw. He touches triple digits on that fastball of his, and he's got a pretty good off-speed pitch as well to couple it with the fastball. But sometimes he can get a little bit wild and put guys on base, and occasionally someone will hit a ball hard like Jack Thomas Wald, the one guy that was able to jump the yard on Joe Boyle this season. So, it all depends on how he's able to locate that fastball. If he can get it over the zone, that's great, and it will give the Mariners a great opportunity to win this ball game. It certainly helps that he's going to be starting against the bottom of the order, so maybe he can kind of gain some confidence against the bottom of this Chatham lineup.
You were correct. They did have Carson Seymour up and warming out in the bullpen, but at the last second they pull him out, and then last half inning they take Joe Boyle, they pop him out there, they get him warmed up, and here he comes. So he will face Alex Terral, Jorge Arenas, and Brady Smith to start things off. The big righty out of Notre Dame, the one they call Irish Thunder. And here comes his first pitch. Fastball 98 miles an hour, and he breezes it by Alex Terral, who was way behind that one.
And this is going to be a real treat getting to watch this radar gun here at Veterans Field. Haven't seen Joe Boyle pitch at many fields where there's actually been a radar gun that displays on the scoreboard.
0-1, fastball at 99, that'll just miss. And yeah, we've typically had to kind of rely on the smug grins on the faces of all the scouts standing behind, crowding around their radar guns. Boyle from the stretch, facing Alex Terral, who is 0 for 1 today, brings the next pitch home. Fastball at 98, that'll miss up and away.
Sorry if we get a little repetitive repeating every pitch speed he's got, but it's really a sight to see watching this guy just completely deliver heat to these Chatham Anglers batters.
We'll see whether or not he pulls the string here and goes with the sliders, the 2-1 is another fastball. This one will catch the zone around the knees at 2-2, and that's the other thing that makes him so deadly is in addition to having a fastball that'll touch 100 miles an hour, he brings a slider into the mix that is going to be somewhere between 82, 83, and that can be really hard to catch up to if you're expecting the fastball. Here he sets, brings home the 2-2. And this one's going to be popped high in the air. This will stay in the field of play as Pat Winkle comes behind home plate and gloves it for out number 1.
Yeah, it was a fastball at 99 up and in on Alex Terral, and he just simply couldn't get his bat around on it. Got jammed. It's an easy pop-up and an easy play for Pat Winkle behind home plate.
Let's take a look at the end of Connor McCullough's day. He goes 6 scoreless innings, does not give up a single hit. So, again, a really good day for him. He did allow 5 base runners, 3 walks, and 2 hit by pitch, but he countered it with 5 strikeouts, and he gets the game into the hands of Joe Boyle, who's already gotten the first out of the inning to start things off. Here comes his first pitch, and that one is going to miss inside and up to Jorge Arenas. Arenas had no interest in swinging at that first pitch regardless as he kept the bat squarely on the shoulder, kind of wanting to size up the speed. Boyle comes set. Here comes the 1-0 pitch. Fastball that misses up and away, and the count goes 2-0.
Now, does this radar gun max out at 99, or
think
does
it does.
show double zeros if it's 100? Or
I really think it does max out at 99. So, I mean, we'll see, but there have been a couple that have looked in the 100 range that haven't necessarily showed up on the scoreboard. Boyle ready to go, the 2-0 pitch. And once again, that one's going to catch the zone around the knees at 98. He has yet to throw a single slider. Everything has been heat. That's what he threw during the All-Star game when he recorded the first triple-digit pitch in recorded All-Star game history. Arenas ready for the 2-1. Fastball low and inside, and the count goes 3-1 here. You wonder whether or not we'll even see the off-speed out of Boyle, as he's kind of just been relying on overpowering guys left and right. Jorge Arenas digs in from the left side. Standing on deck right now is Brady Smith. Boyle the 3-1. Swing and a miss. Got him on the fastball there, and the count is full.
yeah, good heat from Boyle, and he's just been sticking with that fastball, and why not? It's been a real struggle so far for Chatham to even make contact with it.
Nobody's put one in play yet. A couple guys have gotten a bat on it and just fouled it back. We'll see whether or not he can put away another hitter here. The payoff pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Once again going with the fastball, this time at 98 up and away. And Jorge Arenas is down on strikes.
It's a good job fighting back from Boyle. Definitely not a guy you want to put on base in Arenas. He's got some speed with 4 steals on the season, and that time he kind of pushed it a little bit off the plate, and it's coming in so hot that Arenas wasn't sure if it was a strike or not, so he had to swing, couldn't catch up to it. A huge out number 2 for Joe Boyle.
Boyle will set up here to face Brady Smith. His first pitch to the right-handed hitter is going to be in there for strike 1, staying with the fastball. And again, I think he's going to go just with that, at least here in this inning. As again, no off-speed pitches yet through a couple of really lengthy at-bats. He comes set in field at standard depth, and, well, there it is, the slider. That one's actually at 87 miles an hour, and it's in there for an 0-2. Turning around is Brady Smith. He has a very confused look on his face. He's like, now I've got to deal with this too. A good 12-mile-an-hour drop between the fastball and the slider. Here comes the 0-2 from Boyle. Fastball in there for strike 3. Brady Smith down on strikes, and it's a 1-2-3 inning to start the night for Joe Boyle. We go to the 8th. Harwich looking to pad onto their 1-run lead and take game 1 in this playoff series when we come back here on the Harwich Mariners Radio Network. Welcome back to Veterans Field. Tyler Henry alongside Colin Casey as we go on to the 8th inning of play. It'll be Luke Bartnicki back out there for the Chatham A's, and so far he's done a pretty good job. He got the job done back in the 7th inning after giving up a leadoff walk to Nico Cavadas. He got a 4-6-3 double play to get out of some trouble. He'll face the bottom of the order here. And Colin, you'd feel a lot better for Harwich if they could find a way to get a few more runs across the year, maybe pad some insurance on. But with Joe Boyle in the game, the 1-run lead may be enough.
Yeah, it may be, but you really can't assume. You never know with this Chatham team. Sometimes they get hot at the plate at the right time. I thought they might have gotten some momentum after that inning-ending double play at the top half of the 7th inning, but Boyle was just too strong last half inning with a couple of punch-outs, so they're going to have to keep the Mariners at bay once again and try to test their luck against Boyle in the bottom half of the 8th.
Due up for the M's, Christian Fetko, followed by Pat Winkle and Hal Hughes. Hughes is 2 for 2 and has the only run scored of the day. It came on a sac fly by Chris Gallant. So here as we go to the 8th inning of play, a 1-0 lead for the Harwich Mariners, trying to steal game 1 here at Veterans Field and have a chance to maybe, just maybe, take a 1-0 lead back home, looking to get the sweep at White House Field. First pitch is taken down the third base line, but foul by Fetko, and the count starts off at 0-1.
Ideal matchup for Fetko, who's hitting .368 on the season against Southpaws.
Yep, he finally gets the chance to face off against somebody throwing from the other side, as he did not have to deal at all with Austin Vernon. Here comes the 0-1 pitch. That'll miss low and inside. Count even here at 1-1 on Fetko, who today is 0 for 2, a strikeout and a ground out. A lot of guys are 0 for today, but again, it hasn't really mattered because the few guys that have produced have found a way to scratch 1 run across on just 3 hits. Here's Bartnicki's 1-1. That one's going to be popped high in the air, back towards us, and not quite in play. That's actually going to stay on the good side of the net for catcher Brady Smith, but he is unable to make the grab, and that'll make the count 1-2.
Yeah, from our angle, it looked like that ball was going to at first land about a couple of feet in front of us, and then it just kind of kept making its way slowly back towards the field of play, and looks like Brady Smith couldn't tell that that ball was coming back because the ball dropped a couple of feet in front of him.
Some deceptive backspin on that foul ball. So with a 1-2 count, Fetko will stand back in, looking to avoid being a strikeout victim for the second time today. Luke Bartnicki looking to do just that. The 1-2 pitch, that's fouled back to the screen as well as Fetko continues to fight off pitch after pitch. Of course, Colin is going to be the ace on the hill for Chatham tomorrow, and this was their plan all along. They knew who they wanted to have go in Game 2, and it is absolutely no doubt, no question that we will see Colby Kubicek get the start tomorrow. A guy who has been just tearing through opposing pitching or opposing hitting in the game this summer. 1-2 pitch to Fetko. Popped high in the air out to shallow. Actually, it'll stay on the infield as coming over is the shortstop Ben Ramirez, and he will make the catch for out number 1.
Yeah, and as far as Chatham goes, ideally this is exactly how they wanted this pitching scenario to turn out. Is they got 5 scoreless innings from Daniel Fetterman, but just the 1 run given up by Austin Vernon, and it has proved to be a very important one so far, and Chatham really desperately needs to get the bats going in the last 2 innings.
And it's not like Vernon got shelled or anything like that as Pat Winkle stands in. He'll take the first pitch, a called strike on the outer half. It's not like Vernon struggled at all. He gave up 1 single to Hal Hughes, and then of course Hughes came to second on a passed ball, advanced to third on the Joey Weimer drop third strike, and then came in on an RBI sac fly. Aside from that, he had 2 strikeouts and a flyout, but that 1 base runner proved to be the difference, and currently it's the difference in this game as Gallen watches this one for ball 1. The count is even at 1-1.
Be interesting to see if any of these guys in the late innings for the Mariners reach base. Should we see Max Marshak used as a pinch runner?
Certainly could, as this one's going to be fouled back towards the Harwich dugout to make it a 1-2 count on Pat Winkle. Typically, a guy like Winkle would be a prime candidate for a pinch runner, but with the departure of Mike Rothenberg from the team, you wonder whether or not they want to keep him in there for defensive purposes, as they do only have 2 catchers on the roster after the late addition of Sean Harrington. Winkle fouls this one off, and the count stays 1-2 for the 5th consecutive pitch.
Yeah, the good news for the Mariners is Sean Harrington held his own in the 1 game that he started for the Mariners. That was the conclusion of the regular season a few days ago, a 4-4 tie in which he reached base 3 times and actually came around to score.
So a good opportunity for him, and he showcased what he could do. Here comes the 1-2 to Winkle. That'll miss inside. Narrowly avoids hitting pad as he dodges out of the way, and the count is even here at 2-2. Let's get you caught up around the league. Scores remaining pretty much the same as they were, as the Whitey Red Sox remain up 4-1 over the Orleans Firebirds. That game in the top of the 6th. The Katuitt Cavaliers still up 7-6 over the Wareham Gatemen in the top of the 7th. And, of course, the Falmouth Commodores have already beaten the Bourne Braves 3-2. That game went final about an hour ago. Winkle puts a charge into this one, sends it to straightaway center field. Jogging over to make the catch is Caden Polkovich, and that'll do it for out number 2.
Yeah, Winkle making some decent contact on that ball, but it hung up just enough for Polkovich to run that down in left center field. We know he's got a ton of speed, and that was a basic play for him, and we'll see if the hottest hitter in this Harwich Mariners lineup can get the job done here with 2 away.
Hal Hughes is already 2 for 2. He scored the lone run of the game, and he said pregame he thought maybe he had a chance to go yard today. He was feeling himself. So far, that's worked out to his credit. First pitch to him. He's going to miss low, right below the knees, and the count starts at 1-0. Luke Bartnicki, the pitcher out of Georgia Tech, looking to keep the lead to a minimum 1 run here. As Hughes chops this one into the 5-hole, it's going to get through. A miscommunication between Jorge Arenas and Ben Ramirez as to who was going to pick up that ball, and it's just going to drive on through. So Hal Hughes goes 3 for 3 to start his day.
Yeah, on that one, it looked like Ben Ramirez was heading towards it. I don't know if he expected the ball to hit the lip and kind of bounce up to make it a kind of a true hop towards him, but he kind of jogged over to that ball, and it easily just rolled past him for the 3rd hit for Hal Hughes and just the 4th hit for the Harwich Mariners.
Yeah, really lazy kind of. I mean, he was jogging over expecting something to happen that clearly didn't. So here comes Joey Weimer, who's 0 for 3 with a pair of Ks. The big righty stands in. First pitch to him is going to be chopped to the shortstop. It'll be picked up by Ramirez, throw to Morrill for 1, and that will end the inning at second base. So once and again, Hal Hughes finds a way to get a hit, but Harwich can't make anything of it. We go to the bottom of the 8th. Harwich leading it 1-0 when we come back here on the Mariners YouTube Network. Welcome back to Veterans Field. Tyler Henry, Colin Casey, another inning of play coming up here as we go to the bottom of the 8th. Joe Boyle back out there for the Harwich Mariners. And so far, the Chatham A's have not been able to solve the puzzle of Joe Boyle's fastball. We'll see whether or not that continues here as he will face off against Colin Hall. And then the top of the order with Houston Morrill and Aaron Perlensky up after that.
Yeah, and Boyle didn't really mix in his off-speed until the final at-bat of the 7th inning. And it really integrated well with the fastball, so we'll see if he goes more to the breaking stuff in this inning. And it's got the 9-1 and 2 hitters due up, so see if Chatham can finally push across a run and at least extend this game.
Colin Hall is the first hitter. He'll swing through a fastball at 97. Boyle took a little off that one at just 97 miles an hour, but it'll put Colin Hall in an 0-1 hole. So far, Hall is 0 for 2 with a pair of flyouts, both coming to left field. Here comes the 0-1 pitch, and that one will miss inside. Actually, no, it's going to catch the zone, so slider in there, and the count goes 0-2. Colin Hall trying to break out of the 0 for 2 here and get something started for his team. So far, nobody's come across for the Chatham Anglers. No runs, no hits, no errors. There's the slider. That's just narrowly going to miss outside, and the count is 1-2 here on Colin Hall.
There is a righty just kind of tossing in the Mariners bullpen, but as long as Joe Boyle continues to look strong like he has so far, I don't see why they would go to the pen at any point.
Seems like they would be apt to give him the ninth. He's only thrown 17 pitches so far, as this ball is going to be chopped weakly up the first baseline. It'll be picked up by Pat Winkle, and he will lob a ball over the head of Colin Hall and into the glove of Chris Lanzilli for the first out of the inning.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't an easy play for Winkle as that ball was going slowly up the first base line. Winkle was able to pick it up cleanly and then just, as you mentioned, kind of lobbed the ball right over the shoulder of Colin Hall, and Lanzilli was able to track it cleanly and make the catch. So nice defensive play by Winkle, and it's 4 up, 4 down to begin Joe Boyle's night.
So with Houston Morrill coming to the plate, who is 0 for 2 today, he did reach on a hit by pitch. I will recap here in just a second as this one's fouled away. The guys who have come up against Joe Boyle: a pop out to the catcher, a pair of strikeouts, and a ground ball to the catcher. Colin, nobody's been able to get the ball past the catcher spot off of Joe Boyle today.
Yep, everything's been weak contact, and when it's not weak contact, it's no contact.
He's going for another no contact at bat, as the 0-1 is a slider that'll just miss inside the Morrill. This is the part of the order that would do it for Chatham. If anybody's going to, though, is, again, this has been a very top-heavy lineup all year long. The next 4 guys are the most dangerous to get through, and then Jamal O'Gwyn is no scrub in the 5-hole either. Here comes the 1-1 pitch from Boyle. Big swing and a miss. There he's got Houston Morrill swinging out of his shoes at a 98-mile-an-hour fastball that was nowhere near the zone, and he'll have to settle down and face the 1-2 here.
Yeah, these are kind of questionable at-bats so far, questionable swings by Chatham. They just need a ball in play at this point.
The 1-2 swung on, and finally a ball hit in a relatively good spot. It's fouled by quite a good margin onto the playground, and you see the
wow,
swarm of children going to try to get that foul ball.
Sounded like that ball clanged off the swings.
Fortunately, that means it didn't hit anybody out there. Here comes Boyle's 1-2. And once again, it's fouled off. It's Houston Morrill doing everything he can, hanging on for dear life. Going toe-to-toe with Joe Boyle is a bit like riding a bull. Sometimes all you can do is hang on and hope for the best. Boyle ready for the 1-2 pitch. Swing and a ball tipped back to the screen. Morrill just narrowly getting a piece of that one, and this ride will continue for at least another second or two.
Yeah, far and away the best at-bat recorded by a Chatham angler so far, as Morrill continues to just kind of fight off a lot of these tough fastballs.
See if Boyle wants to mix in the off-speed with a 1-2 count. Here comes the pitch. There is the slider, and that will just narrowly miss high. Count 2-2.
Yeah, pretty big 10 to 12 mile-an-hour difference with that slider from Boyle, and it can really, really drive the batter crazy.
Houston Morrill continuing to fight here. This will be the 8th pitch of the at-bat. The count is 2-2. The pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Joe Boyle climbs the ladder and gets Houston Morrill to chase, his 3rd strikeout of the outing, and he has got Harwich just 1 out away from taking the 8th with another scoreless frame.
Yep, another high 90s fastball from Boyle, as Morrill was able to fight off a lot of fastballs, but that time it was just too much, and Boyle continues to look like the Joe Boyle we saw in the first month of the season.
So here comes Aaron Polensky. Sorry. He will stand in. Already reached on 1 walk today. First pitch he sees is a fastball at the knees for ball 1. And Colin, I got an update. The gun does max out at 99 over here. Official scout guns had that last fastball at 101. Boyle's pitching out of his mind right now as there's the danger. A ball thrown in very quickly to Aaron Polensky at 99, and he does foul it away, but you see, even a weak swing can really drive the ball. The velocity is going to do most of the work.
That ball was hit really well down the left field line, but he was actually out in front of it. Really hard to be out in front of a Joe Boyle fastball.
Kind of just have to close your eyes and hope the bat makes contact, as the 1-1 pitch is the slider. That thing has some nasty movement to it, and it cuts into the zone for strike 2.
Just a spectacular start to this outing from Joe Boyle, and that's exactly what the Harwich Mariners need out of their bullpen if they want to go deep in these playoffs.
Boyle comes set. Polensky waiting for the 1-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. 2 more strikeouts added onto the total of Joe Boyle, and it's another 1-2-3 inning. He's faced 6. He's retired 6. We go to the 9th. Still a 1-0 lead for the M's here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network.
second base for Chatham.
Welcome back to Veterans Field. Tyler Henry, Colin Casey as we go here to the 9th and final frame. Harwich leads at 1-0. It'll be Luke Bartnicki coming out for another inning. And Colin, an interesting defensive substitute here as Houston Morrill has been pulled in favor of Tyler Dones at second base.
Yep, Dones getting an opportunity. It seems like he's been a defensive replacement in virtually every game that these two teams have played, but he'll get another opportunity at second base and provide a little more defensive prowess on the right side of the infield.
Harwich will try to go and pad a few more runs onto the lead. Here's a rocket from Gallant out to straightaway center. Jumping at the wall and making the catch is Caden Polkovich. As I was going to say, try to pad the lead, and Chris Gallant about did just that, but it stays into the confines here of Veterans Field for the first out.
Yeah, once again, just a spacious center field here at Veterans Field, and despite that ball being hit relatively hard from Gallant, Polkovich leaped and made that catch about 5 to 6 feet in front of the wall.
So here's Chris Lanzilli, who was 0 for 3 today. A couple of flyouts and a strikeout for him. First pitch to him, he's swinging, takes it right back at the pitcher, and Bartnicki will toss this one to first in time for out number 2. So 2 pitches, 2 outs. We'll see whether or not Harwich will take a pitch here with Nico Cavadas coming to the plate.
Sometimes that might be all that you need from a defensive standpoint to spark some offense. You get a nice, quick top of the 9th inning. Maybe your hitters will start to try to pick things up at the plate. You got the heart of the lineup due up next inning for Chatham. If you can get through things cleanly, you're certainly not out of the game when it's 1-0.
I mean, they haven't been out of the game the whole time. It's just been a matter of not performing offensively as Nico Cavadas takes a fastball in for strike 1. Still no hits up on the board for the Chatham Anglers so far today. It was 6 scoreless innings from Connor McCullough, 2 so far from Joe Boyle. Cavadas will watch the next pitch, a breaking ball that misses inside for ball 1, and the count is even here at 1 apiece.
Righty continues to warm up out in the Harwich bullpen. It'll be interesting to see if Boyle does come out for a 9th inning.
Get the feeling of how well he's pitched and how few pitches he's thrown as Cavadas swings through this for strike 2. You'd like to see him come out and pitch the 3rd. He's probably not going to pitch back-to-back nights anyway, so you might as well get as much out of him while you can. And they did stretch him out in that spot start earlier this year. He has gone multiple innings before, so this would not be something we've never seen before out of Joe Boyle. Bartnicki working out of the wind-up. The southpaw kicks and deals the 1-2 to Nico Cavadas. It'll be called strike 3 on the outer half. Cavadas' second strikeout of the inning, and that'll do it for the top of the 9th. We go to the bottom. Caden Polkovich, Ben Ramirez, and Jamal O'Gwyn due up to face off against who? We will see when we come back here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back one last time to Veterans Field as we are in the bottom of the 9th inning here in Game 1 of the playoff series between the Harwich Mariners as the 4 seed and the 1 seed Chatham Anglers. I'm Tyler Henry, joined here by Colin Casey. Joe Boyle, who has gotten 6 up, 6 down, 4 strikeouts, will come back out to pitch the 9th inning. And it'll be Caden Polkovich, Ben Ramirez, and Jamal O'Gwyn due up here for Chatham, trying to get something, anything to go right. As so far up on the scoreboard, it is all goose eggs for Chatham. No runs, no hits, no errors, and they have not scored in any of the 8 innings so far. But that could all change here if they can find a way to get somebody on base and maybe, just maybe, find a way to solve the puzzle that is this 98 to 102 mile an hour Joe Boyle fastball.
Yeah, and I think the big thing with this heart of the lineup is not to get way too aggressive. You might want to be a little smarter because Boyle is going into his 3rd inning. He's thrown 30 pitches. Maybe try to wait back and take a strike or 2 and wait for a good fastball that's over the plate that they can drive.
Joe Boyle has been the Harwich closer all season long. He boasts an ERA of 1.92. So far this year, he has not given up runs very often. The first pitch he brings home is going to miss inside. Looked like it may have very narrowly almost gone off the foot there of Caden Polkovich, but it does not. Polkovich, the lefty, will stand in. Count is 1-0. Joe Boyle from the stretch. The big 6'6" righty brings the pitch home. And that's going to be taken hard into deep straightaway center. Back to the warning track, and making the catch is Dylan Noisy. And oh boy, Colin, we almost saw the velocity come back to bite Joe Boyle again.
Well, that's right there is the guy you'd expect to hit a ball that hard in this lineup. It's Caden Polkovich, who has 4 long balls on the season and has seen the ball really well against righties. And boy, he got a big charge into that one. But again, the air out here just kind of knocked that ball down, and Dylan Noyes was able to make that catch relatively easily. He had a little bit of room to spare out in right center field.
The crowd got into it for a second. Here comes Ben Ramirez. First pitch he sees is a slider that'll miss up and out, and the count goes to 1-0. So Harwich looking for 2 more outs to close out this one and take game 1 here on the road at Chatham. The 1-0 pitch. That's fouled off back behind the screen and over the press box to make it a 1-1 count.
Yeah, you have to wonder if that ball might have had a chance at getting out if it were in Harwich. Of course, different air in Harwich being more inland. I mean, it's probably about, I would say 10, I'd say it's probably about 10 feet deeper, but with the air, you have to wonder what if.
1-1 count. Here comes Boyle's pitch. That'll get in there for a strike. Low and in, and boy, he has really been painting the corners today. For a guy who struggles with control, according to what he's told us and what everybody else has told us, he has not shown any signs of that here today. Ben Ramirez down to his last strike. The 1-2 count. Here comes the pitch. And that'll be fouled back to the screen. It's just doing anything he can to get a bat on the ball is Ben Ramirez, who keeps the count at 1-2.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of scouts are marveling at this outing from Joe Boyle so far. Coupled with the velocity is control. This guy can continue to pitch with control. He could be a very high guy on those scout lists.
1-2 pitch, swing and a miss, strike 3. Took him outside with the slider, and Harwich is on the doorstep. Now just 1 out left to get. It'll be Jamal O'Gwyn standing in here for the Anglers.
You had a lot of Harwich fans coming out to show out for this playoff game. You hear a bunch of cheers after that strikeout, and Joe Boyle, 1 out to go, and he could give Harwich a 1-0 lead over the #1 seed in the East.
Joe Boyle with 1 more out left to get. Jamal O'Gwyn comes to the plate. First pitch to him is going to miss inside for ball 1.
Also, Harwich 1 batter away from doing something special for the 2nd time this season. I won't be too specific.
Boyle brings the 1-0 home. This will be fouled away, and the count goes 1-1 here on Jamal O'Gwyn, who today is flied out, lined out, and grounded out. Harwich has not had the greatest of offensive days, but it hasn't mattered. 4 hits, 1 run, no errors for the Mariners.
This would be back-to-back shutouts at Veterans Field for the Mariners if they're able to pull it off.
Certainly could be. The 1-1. Swing and a miss. Boyle once again climbs the ladder. That pitch over 100 miles an hour, and he has got Jamal O'Gwyn eating out of his hand with a 1-2 count. O'Gwyn stands in from the left side. The right-handed hitter is the last hope for the Chatham Anglers. The 1-2 just misses up and out, and the count evens here at 2-2.
Winning this one would belong to Connor McCullough, and the loss would go to Austin Vernon, but Boyle's got to get this final strike.
6 innings, no hits for McCullough. The 2-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Harwich takes game 1 here at Veterans Field, and it's a combined no-hitter for the M's pitchers. McCullough to Boyle, game, set, match. Harwich takes game 1. We will step away. When we come back, we'll put the cap on it here at Veterans Field on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back one last time to Veterans Field. Tyler Henry alongside Colin Casey here to put the cap on it. A 1-0 game. The Harwich Mariners take game one. And Colin, this is maybe the most important thing is Harwich gets the win on the road. They have an opportunity to end the series tomorrow at White House Field.
Yeah, it's a huge victory for the Mariners and what was exactly what we expected, a pitcher's duel. Two teams with really good pitching, and offensively they just couldn't solve either starting pitcher as they combined for 11 innings pitched and 9 strikeouts. So both starters doing their jobs, and it was just one rough inning for Austin Vernon. It wasn't even that bad of an inning. I mean, the guy only gave up the one hit to Hal Houston. He just came around to score after a pass ball, a dropped third strike, and a sacrifice fly. So the Mariners were able to just manufacture one run, and between Connor McCullough and Joe Boyle, that one run was plenty as they combined to go 9 innings and no hits allowed to go along with 11 strikeouts. Joe Boyle goes 9 up, 9 down in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings with 6 strikeouts. I mean, just a phenomenal performance pitching-wise for the Harwich Mariners, and they put themselves one win away from the semifinals.
The most staggering stat might be that the Chatham Anglers, despite having no hits in this game, leave 5 runners on base. But Harwich 1 run, 4 hits, no errors, 3 runners left on base. Goose eggs across the board for the Anglers, who had no runs, no hits, no errors, and 5 runners left on base. Tomorrow's game will likely, and I say likely, feature Connor Seckler for the Harwich Mariners, and of course, on the bump for the Chatham Anglers will be Caden Polkovich, or no, sorry, not Caden Polkovich, will be the ace of the team, Colby Kubicek. So it should be another good pitcher's duel tomorrow. So Colin, I'll let you take it from here. Another excellent win for Harwich, and again, they get a big-time, much-needed victory here in Game 1.
Yes, they certainly did, as the Mariners get 1 run on 4 hits. No errors committed from either team, actually, in this game, as Mariners left just the 3 men on base. Chatham, no runs on no hits, as they're the second team to be no-hit by the Harwich Mariners this season. The first, of course, being Orleans in a 7-inning affair where Jacob Polish pitched a no-hitter. So no runs, no hits, no errors for Chatham. They did leave 5 men on base, including the bases loaded back in the bottom of the 4th inning, where they had a golden opportunity to take an early lead, but Jorge Arenas was unable to bring home that first run of the ball game for Chatham. So the Mariners now 1-0 in the series. It's a best-of-3 series. They will take that lead going back to White House Field tomorrow afternoon. The win in this game goes to Connor McCullough, who improves to 3-0 on the season, including his regular season stats. The loss in this game will go to Austin Vernon. Vernon picks up his first loss of the season. He falls to 3-1 and 1-1 against the Harwich Mariners this season. And the save goes to Joe Boyle, who, my goodness, was phenomenal out of the pen as he comes in the 7th inning to relieve Connor McCullough and goes 9 up, 9 down with 6 strikeouts, 2 in each inning. And he was certainly the big reason why the Mariners were able to hang on and win this ball game. He picks up his 3rd save of the season. So the Mariners win this game by a final score of 1-0 at Veterans Field over the 1-seeded Chatham Anglers. And the Mariners, they can pick up a win tomorrow, will advance to the semifinals and take on the winner of the YD and Orleans series, as YD at last look was leading that game by a score of 4-1 in the 7th inning. As we get a quick update right now, the score still is 4-1. It's the bottom of the 7th inning, so YD looking to also pick up a road victory and take a series lead back to Red Wilson Field against the Orleans Firebirds. Real quick, Falmouth picked up a 3-2 win over the Bourne Braves. They lead at 1-0. That Game 2 will take place tomorrow at Doran Park in Bourne, just next to the Cape Cod Canal. And the last one being the last game, of course, being a 7-7 game in the top of the 8th inning. Katuitt and Wareham both tied at 7-7. So one last time, the Mariners with a 1-0 victory over the Chatham Anglers in Game 1 of this playoff series. Behind a great pitching performance, a combined no-hitter, the Mariners head back to White House Field tomorrow. For all of us here at the Harwich Mariners broadcast booth, for our producer, Matt Lucy, for my broadcast partner, Tyler Henry, I'm Colin Casey. Thank you for joining us, and we will look to see you tomorrow for Game 2's broadcast at White House Field. So long, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your evening.